Welcome to the Soapboxx podcast. I am your host, TJ Legacy, and I am joined with, actually, I am honored and humbled for this Black activist roundtable. We're definitely glad for you guys to join us for this special edition of the podcast. Alan, Giovanni, and Jesse and Ish are off, but I got my fellow activist folks to join me in. Starting off, I want to introduce activists in the. Are you still in the Tampa area, Donna?
I am right now.
Yes, in the Tampa area. Shout out to Donna. What's going on, Donna? How you been?
You know, I've been good. I've just been watching the fray from the COVID-19 sidelines.
Yeah. And
it's nasty.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Our governor is a piece of work, ain't he? Yo, for real. All right, we'll get.
Cut myself
no, off. Hey, this is uncensored. You can say whatever we want. We can say whatever we feel. But hey, also my man over here, one of the best environmental activists that I know, good brother Anthony Rogers-Wright. How you doing, man?
Really, really good, my brother. It's so good to see your faces. Sister Donna has been killing it, so it's always great to share space with her. My good brother Dwight, Bullard, one of the best legislatures ever in the history of Florida, a paragon of public service. Fuck W. Wasserman Schultz. And then, of course, good brother TJ, good to see you. I don't know about the Boston Red Sox hat, but I love you. I'm a New Yorker, but I love you, brother. It's so good to be sharing space with y'all.
Yo, I'm definitely from Boston, so that's the reason for the Boston Red Sox hat. Definitely got a rep up north. And yes, this man needs no introduction, but I'm gonna try to do it no justice anyway. Dwight Bullard, New Florida Majority Party. I said that right?
Just New Florida Majority.
New Florida. I keep saying New Florida. I always say party at the end of it. Y'all should see.
I mean, we like to have a good time, but I mean, yeah.
I'm forward thinking because we need our own political. After today, we might need to do an exodus into our own political.
It's a real conversation, no doubt.
It's a conversation, definitely. Yes, Senator Dwight Bullard. He's a friend of the show, confidant. You know, this dude, big brother to me. So I appreciate you being on, my brother.
Appreciate you for the invitation. I just want to be like Donna and have the wine come through right at the moment the introduction happens.
She started on us a little bit, right?
That was impeccable. She just like has her hands up and it
please, yes,
right
yes,
there, please.
More
Let's
wine.
Begin. Yes. I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen,
trust black women. Yes.
hashtag trust. More wine, please. Yes. So today, everybody's been talking about trending topic. The reason why we're here is Vice President. Let me be a little bit formal. Vice President Joe Biden had an interview with The Breakfast Club with Charlamagne Tha God, and it didn't go well. All right, in my estimation, that's to say it lightly. I don't feel like it went well. For those who didn't see it, but what I want to do is let's jump right into the comment that he made that has everybody into a stir, and then we're going to double back into the actual conversation, right, with the interview. So let's do it that way. I got a clip for everybody who didn't see it, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and share that real quick. Bear with me on. And if you guys want to chime in, I know there's people that's inboxing me right now. They want to be a part of the Avengers, and I'm like, I'm cool with that, but just give me a second.
Campaign, because you do have a background in politics. Joe Biden taped an interview with The Breakfast Club. It was a very edgy interview. He was defending his record with African Americans, and this is the full exchange with the host, Charlamagne, who asked him about his record with African Americans and was pressing him on having a woman of color, an African American, as his running mate. Let's watch.
Thanks so much. That's really our time. I apologize.
You can't do that to black media.
I can't do that to white media and black media because my wife has to go on at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
I'm in trouble.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. I mean, come on. Take a look at the record.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Anyway, thanks. I will come back.
All right.
I look forward to seeing you in person.
All right. So,
just go
who
loud
wants to
emoji.
start? Yeah. Who want, you know what? I'm gonna let Donna start. Donna, what was your first initial reaction?
Well, he seemed to be about as high as Charlamagne's eyebrows. And before all this went down, I started to make a meme about Charlamagne's eyebrows. They are curiously reminiscent of Bullard. Remember him? The King and I?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So his eyebrows have gone full Yul Brynner, but that's another shit.
Conversation for another day. I got you.
Okay. We'll table the Charlamagne eyebrow conversation.
Eyebrows. So I was in South Carolina at we staffed a senator at the CNN town hall, and what a zoo, right? And people were Bloomberg purchased his people because all of his applause came from one corner of the room. People weren't against Biden. I mean, there seemed to be a lot of warmth toward him as far as losing his son. And he made some really poignant statements that there was actually a standing round of applause for him. Yeah. So South Carolina, being the bellwether that it is, just kind of gave, in the absence of any real courting on the part of other candidates, just kind of kissed Biden's ring, right? They just kind of knighted him and let him move about the cabinet. And so we debated it for a while. We heard from Michael Harriot. We heard some really hot takes on Biden and the sort of bestowing of the Black vote, right? And they always talk about us like we're a monolith. At the time, you may be shocked to know I was working for Amy Klobuchar, because a lot of the other campaigns want to put you in an FO or an FSO. And man, I'm a consultant for a DC firm. I'm not doing that, And so she offered me a national position and I took it. I have a kid in college. I can't just be out here like that, right? So when I saw this today,
so you say you work for Amy?
I worked for Amy. I was a national, I did our access. I had 14 states, 7 months. I flew 40,000 miles, a lot of work. That's her signature picture on that wall back there.
Okay.
But let me say this. I was not surprised when he said this. He got too comfortable at the picnic. We gave him grace that perhaps he did not deserve. If you look at his record, there was simply no reason for that. Younger voters were really in the fray trying to make Bernie happen. I don't think they paid attention to the details. The brokering going on behind the scene. There was a big meeting in Washington where it was decided that Biden would be the guy, not just at the level of the DNC, at the level of the Black Congressional Caucus. So all of these dealings had already been done. So people said, hey, you know what? They went into South Carolina. They tried to talk to all of these Black activists and Black organizers. Nobody would talk to them. Bullard pulled out the checkbook. That's how he got his people. Amy didn't come. We came in at the last minute. I went down there to be the state field director, right? Like after we finished ballot access. And it was really not really an operation. So the point that I want to make here is we gave him the Black vote. It was we made a summary decision. It wasn't anything near a consensus. Black voters are not a monolith. And now he's like, look at me, the NAACP, the misguided emeritus civil rights organization. What kind of fucking, what is that? That means nothing, right?
Yes.
Old Black people, and they don't have their finger on the pulse of the Black community. So I'm not shocked at this hubris. I'm not shocked at this space taking, and I'm not shocked that people are upset about it. I am shocked people are upset about it, because couldn't we see this coming? We let this guy come to the barbecue, we let him make the potato salad, and now we want to take it all back. That's not how it works.
Nah, yo, I mean,
Anthony, go ahead. There's a lot of truth in what you, and definitely what you said. I think that this whole inviting white people to the barbecue thing needs to be deaded, especially for the low hanging fruit. Like we're like, yo, treat us like human beings, like treat me right. And someone's like, you know what? Unarmed black men and black women shouldn't be killed. And we're like, ooh, child. Oh yeah, like he, and it's just like you don't talk about nobody being punished, you don't talk about anything. So and I don't like, in his comment, I didn't like the fact that his the whole NAACP Black Caucus thing, as if those are our representatives of the black, because people who are like us on the grassroots, there's a lot of folks in our communities that don't really rock with them or know them like that, or are actually a part of their chapters. And I'm not disparaging every chapter, because
right.
NAACP chapter, I've seen some thorough NAACP chapters out here on the ground level doing some grassroots stuff, but I've also seen some janky ones as well. So to just say, like, it's almost like that Rachel Dolezal, like, hey, I can put on some blackness because I'm a part of this organization. Like, you just pay your membership due to blackness. And I just kind of didn't agree with that. But Anthony, go ahead and give us
building off of what the good sister Donna said, it wasn't like, look at the words that he used. He said, he didn't say you're not black. He said you ain't black. You know what I'm saying? So like trying to use the slang, as you were talking about potato salad, right? He put raisins in the potato salad, right there. You can't do that. And I really appreciate what you were saying, brother, about, we're not a monolith. You got good people, good folk like Jackie Patterson, who the NAACP hired to basically run their climate change and environmental justice platform. Jackie Patterson is a platinum sister, you know what I'm saying? Which was a lot different than the Congressional Black Caucus. I think that we must have, some of our folk have Stockholm syndrome. This is a man who has a trifecta of just absolute mordancy for the black community, starting off with anti-busing in the 70s, which was bad enough when our people were getting brutalized, and not just in the South, but in the deep North, in Boston, as a matter of fact, for busing. And he came out against that, said he was honored to work with segregationists. And then, I mean, the crime bill, we don't really have to say anything more about that. Y'all folk are in a state right now where we had to fight hard, like good sisters, brothers like David Ayala and Sister Aramis fight it, and the good brother Dwight, 1.4 million folk getting their voting rights back, vast majority of them black. A lot of them didn't have those voting rights because of Joe Biden and Bill Clinton's crime bill. Ironically, Joe Biden's crime bill is the reason why Gore lost in 2000. If you're really thinking about that, the Democrats are better at hurting themselves and the Republicans are hurting the Democrats. And then finally, something that people don't talk about a lot is welfare reform. Okay, welfare reform made black people in southern states hungry because it allowed states to have more draconian measures for families who are hungry. They had to have jobs or get drug tested or things like that. That welfare reform bill really crippled black women and black families. And so when at a time when you really should have been, on that Elizabeth Warren train, in my opinion, because Elizabeth Warren, in my opinion, was like, yo, I'm trying to work for black votes. I'm bringing in Alicia Garza. I'm bringing in Anoa Changa and Charlene Carruthers from Black Youth Project 100 and whatnot. This man, as Sister Donna and you just said, just got, a green light and got, this is what Dave Chappelle meant when keeping it real goes terribly wrong. You know what I'm saying? It reminds me of that episode that Bill Maher did. He was interviewing a senator from Nebraska, and the senator said, you should come out to the farm. And Bill Maher said, farm? I'm a house nigger, right? And Ice Cube and Dr. Michael Eric Dyson had to bring...
check him. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
You remember that episode?
Yep.
And so what I said was like, this is like some weird sadistic contest between Trump and Biden. Who can make black people stay home better? Because as Sister Donna said, the young folk aren't having it. You know, one thing that we love our elders, you know, but what they have to understand is that the younger Black folk, they're not into civil rights. They're into Black liberation. Okay, now Black civil rights might be a part of Black liberation, but Black liberation is not necessarily a part of civil rights. And so I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that the good sister Karine Jean-Pierre, who we love, Haitian sister, move on, brilliant Black woman magic and whatnot, talks to this brother. We're hoping that Simone Sanders talks to this brother because he has just put the presidency in jeopardy. That was absolutely ridiculous. You know, Trump is already spinning that and has videos ready to go. And because that's the only plan. That's the only way Trump can win is if we stay home. If sisters like Donna Davis stay home. You cannot win anything, whether it's a Green New Deal, Medicare for all, this, that, or the other, without Black people being behind it 100%. And that goes for candidates, that goes for policy. So Brother Joe, you need to come to Black Jesus moment. You know, not you know, you don't need to go to some Pete Buttigieg church. You need to go see Reverend Al, who's not my favorite person all the time, but right now, and get schooled, because like you need the Jay-Z version of the Bible, the Biggie Smalls version of the Bible, not
take crack commandments.
Yeah, not the Vanilla Ice. You better go talk to Dr. Cornel West right now and get schooled, because you're blowing it. You're blowing it.
Yeah.
Careful. Yeah.
I told them, and we got to have some folks joining us as they pop in. This is like basically a pop up. Miss Ericka Dunlap, who's Miss America, is going to join us as well. Ericka, before I'm gonna get your thoughts real quick. Thank you for joining us, taking my numerous invitations. Ericka's a friend of the show as well, but you know, she curves me all the time when I try to get her insight on these issues because she's so busy. But appreciate you chiming in today. Make sure you
only chimed in for Dwight.
Oh, see? Hey, it's all good. It's all good. It's all right. You see on the show. Make sure you share the link so that your people's so that everybody can see the stream or whatever. Yeah, I definitely, Anthony, I agree with you, man. I immediately when I saw the comment, I said this guy, Joe Biden needs to be on a white privilege boot camp. Like Simone said, it's like he needs to be running shuttles. He needs to be an obstacle course. There should be something like he should be doing 2-a-days at this as white privilege boot camp, because for him to make this big of a blunder, and I know there's people downplaying it, and we're gonna get to that. But for him to make this blunder, this gaffe on the #1 urban radio show in the nation and be that ill-prepared, the timing, it was subpar at best. But I want to get Dwight, I actually called Dwight after I watched it because I'm trying to be better at not reacting to things. I'm trying to digest things. And I was like, yo, Dwight, am I tripping? I was like, I listened to it. Am I tripping? So Dwight, what were your thoughts, man?
No, you weren't tripping with my brother at all. So gotta, full disclosure, I am the president of my NAACP branch.
Oh,
so
that's one of the third ones. That's one of the third ones we was talking about.
But I appreciate your confidence. The reality is there's definite facts and truth to everything that everyone said in regard. But I just want to first shout out the foreshadowing, right? Because what I really appreciated was my man looking at his watch and saying, "Oops, I'm in trouble," and then proceeding to get himself in like more trouble. It was magical. I'm looking forward to the many remixes and beats that'll be created over the coming weeks, taking apart that clip. But in all seriousness, though, historically Joe Biden's always been criticized for being what they call a gaffe machine, right? Saying these sort of out of pocket comments, not well thought out. And then someone coming behind and sort of being like, well, they were well intentioned and here's what he meant, and all these other things, and trying to explain it away. But we are living in a time and place where people have to be self-accountable, and hold themselves to a higher standard, because America's in a tinderbox moment. Like, it's volatile. There's a lot of tension going on, and people are looking for some reprieve from some of the craziness right now. You know, it's very, very tense, and it's been an ongoing thing, but it's been, you know, in the age of both the presence of President Obama and the age of Trump, race has been kind of a full throttle, you know, fire breathing moment for America, more so because it's being televised and it's being out there, and it's on full display.
Yeah.
And so you have to be very intentional about the words and you know, your choice of words, your choice of comments, and how you go about it. I know we're going to be talking about, you know, some of the things he said earlier in the interview that were also, you know, I think even more problematic, or equally problematic.
Yeah.
But just landing on that statement in itself, it was just super dismissive, and that's what made it problematic, right? You know, like what I appreciate about scholars when they go and give context is they're quoting, you know, when you quote a John Henrik Clarke, or you quote a Frantz Fanon, or you quote, you know, James Baldwin or Daniel Hamer, these brilliant activists from the space, as like to give context to what you're saying, that's one thing. But when you're troping and you're using things like NAACP or CBC, or like as your like only receipts, your only credibility on why you've been supported, that's inherently problematic. But then even more problematic because you've already been criticized countless times for different things. You got to remember, Joe Biden enters the scene with basically the requirement that you apologize to Anita Hill, and then doesn't apologize, right? So then you step further into the scene, basically using like, you know, President Barack Obama and his administration as your stepping stone and foray into this race. And again, you get criticized. You know, you get criticized by Kamala Harris in the first national debate around your track record around busing and working with segregationists. So knowing that, like, if you're in this moment, you should have been taking mental notes and saying, okay, here's what people are saying about who I am. Here's who I know I am, and here's where I need to be.
Yeah.
And what you haven't seen is that growth or adjustment over what has been a year almost, right? Like we're talking a calendar year as we're moving into this election season, where, you know, people have been saying this, that, and the third, and you know, I know this is gonna gaslight some folks, but the reality is that this is the criticism I was giving of Black people who were in the Biden camp from jump, who are just like, he's our, you know, treating him like he's Luke Skywalker, he's our only hope, and he's the only. You know who he is? You know who he is? He's giving a football analogy. He's Mitch Trubisky. Like, you got a Super Bowl defense, you got a good head coach, you got all the workings around you. All you got to do is just manage the game, bro. That's it. Like, and it's very simple.
He's handing it to you. Trump is handing it to you. You just complete a few passes,
hand off to your running back. Exactly. Using that sports analogy, but what I mean is, like, this is what I was trying to push people on. And I know Anthony, I know Donna, you know, I know everybody. When people were like, what about Biden? What about Biden? It was like, reason, like, he needs more pushing. Like, he needs the agitation. Cannot just crown him and anoint him the second coming of the Obama administration because he was on the same ticket. It's not the same person. He's not taking the same level of care and compassion that Barack Obama took to this. I mean, first of all, like, putting it in this context, Barack Obama wouldn't have made that statement. You know what I'm saying? And he's a Black person. Like, because he's thoughtful enough to understand that that's not your walk-off statement, even if you're saying it in jest. Right. And so those are the kind of things that, if you're going to hold him to this Obama administration standard, then y'all need to slap a bracelet on him that says, what would Barack Obama do? And he needs to ask himself that question, because the answers that he was given wouldn't have done it. And I know we're going to talk about, like, his critique of Hillary Clinton later on, where it's just like, even Hillary and walking into her Breakfast Club interview was like, yo, I know what y'all want to talk about 94 crimes? My bad. Super Predator, shouldn't have done it.
She fell on the sword. Yeah.
Right. And then what's interesting, and this is what I was telling TJ earlier, was when she made that hot sauce in the purse comment then, that was kind of the thing that set off a trend of kind of bad tendencies throughout the 2016 cycle that she could never catch up from. And this is that moment. This is that bellwether moment for the Biden administration that you can't be caught up in the fact that you're quote unquote leading in the polls. She was in the same boat.
Exactly.
You can't be caught up in the idea that people are giving you a pass. She was in the same boat. You don't want to walk into the night before the election under the assumption you got it in the bag and then end up in the same place that Hillary Clinton is, which is at home. Because the reality is we need, Trump ain't it. And we get that, but it just, you can't keep making mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake, taking Black folk for granted over and over and over again, and then just expecting them to just,
But with that,
I do want to get Ericka's thoughts, and then we're going to go to the interview and kind of break it down. Ericka, I know you weren't here for that. We're going to go through the interview, break it down, stop, and then give our critique on it like that. Ericka, what were your initial reactions to? We're going last to first or whatever. We're doing the Star Wars or the Star Wars thing.
So I have not watched the whole thing only because I've been Zooming all day.
Got you.
Because that's my life. However, just to piggyback on what Dwight was saying, I completely agree in regards to, the Hillary bad tendencies that a lot of white candidates tend to make. And this is from local, state, national. They want to be relatable. They want to be urban relatives so bad that they want to get on these platforms. And in doing so, it's a good look, kind of, but you're also talking to a 70-year-old white guy. Like, I don't care what he did with Obama. He's still a 70-year-old white guy. That's his frame of reference. That's his perspective. And no matter how many Black friends he's got, that is going to always be his first attack. That's going to be his first defense mechanism.
To your point, I told Dwight, I was like, man, Dwight, when he said it, he really thought he had a bar. Like, he really was like, he thought he was like, yo, this is the coolest shit I've ever done with off the dome.
That's not it. So this is the thing. I totally agree with Dwight. However, who is grooming him? I'm coming from a PR perspective. From a PR perspective, who are your Black PR people? Hire me. I will take the lead for you. I will be the voice for the Biden campaign to speak directly to him, to tell him, don't ever do that again. And let's talk about relatability 101 when it comes to older white people. And that's not to be a slide or slack to older white people that they don't have the capacity to be relatable to Black people, but they don't have a capacity to relate to all of us on this platform. What if you sat in the room with your average just 70-year-old white person, perhaps you would have something in common. Like, I've been very fortunate to I have friends from all different backgrounds. So I have old white ladies that I can kick it with and we find common ground. But then when it comes to the 4 things we're not supposed to talk about at dinner, race, religion, politics, and sex.
Israel.
Right?
You're not supposed to talk about those things. It becomes
a little tricky. So we have to really decide, I think, as a people, I appreciate to some degree Diddy and the crew making the demand that there is a Black agenda and that whoever this Democrat or whoever the candidates are, they should answer to us in some way. Well, A, what do we want? And B, who is talking to him? Who's talking to him? Who are his people? We need to vet his people.
We real quick, I want to go around the table real quick, and then we'll dive into the actual interview because I want folks to watch that. Donna, real quick, what do you think about when he said that? Do you feel like Charlamagne did enough to check him, or he was just kind of rushing in the moment? Like, how do you feel like Charlamagne handled it? Because there are some people in the conscious community on social media that's like, Charlamagne should have did this, he should have said that, he should have checked him immediately, he let it go far, he let it slide. What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like Charlamagne handled it? Just that specific comment. No,
any pop culture icon like Charlamagne that has a platform that massive and is not turning people's heads and minds on the take, right? Like how many Black people have that large of a platform that tell it like it is? Those people are on YouTube, collecting followers. They're on it.
They're on Zoom.
They're not out there with millions of people listening to them all over the world, changing people's minds. You know what he could do for a candidate? Do you know what he could do for a candidate?
Yeah.
He's not doing it. He's not going to do it. He's going to sit there and call Monique out as donkey of the day.
You're right.
He's not the man. We shouldn't expect that from Charlamagne.
That's right. Yeah,
you're right.
Thank you so much for saying that, because I'm tired of him being our spokesperson anyway. I'm tired. I don't really like him. I read his little ugly book. I'm sorry, this isn't a bash Charlamagne, but I'm just glad that she pointed that out, because I feel like we glorify these people who are just, and no slight, because I have a lot of friends who are news anchors and who are reporters and who are in radio, and they're really astute at what they do. But we put them on this pedestal like, oh, he's Charlamagne the God, because he calls himself the God. He ain't no God. He ain't no God to me. And we don't need to be like he's from South Carolina with a New York accent. I'm so confused.
Listen, and Donna, that's a fair point, because I feel and I also feel the same type of way about the Angela Rise, what's the lady, the Joy Reeves of the world. They're limitless. They're all on there, and we'll talk about them because Roland Martin, all these folks had their say after doing the spin machine. They got the group text, the Mayday group text on the spin machine. But let's go to the clip. Let's start the interview. Let's kind of break it down frame by frame. It's not a long interview. I'll stop it periodically and then ask you guys some thoughts. All right. And for those who are watching or listening to us on Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio app, thank you so much for listening to the Soapboxx podcast. For our folks who listen to us, we actually have a very large UK following in Portugal. I don't know, go figure. So thank you. So thank y'all for listening to what's going on in this country right now. Appreciate y'all. Hold on. Let me go ahead and fire up the clip.
Early in the morning. The Breakfast Club.
Vice President Biden, how are you today?
Good. Good to see you.
Same here. I've been critical of you. I have a few things I want to talk to you about today.
I know you have. Yeah. You don't know me.
No, I don't. That's why I want to get to know you today. I want to get to know you today. You don't know me, bro. I want to talk to you about mostly Black stuff. But, first of all, how are you? How's your family during this quarantine?
Thank God everybody's doing well. How about you and your family?
Man, we over here blessed, Black, and highly favored, man.
Well, I tell you what, the Black community is getting killed, though.
That is very, very true. That is very true. It's a lot of right-wing media outlets. They question you. They question your cognitive health. They don't think everything's working upstairs. What do you say to that?
I say I can hardly wait to meet with that guy who is the stable genius.
There's nothing stable about that guy. One thing I've been critical about is I feel like you've been like MIA during this global pandemic. It's people like Governor Cuomo here in New York who have become political stars simply because we see and hear from them every day. So I'm just like, I'm wondering how you're going to energize people and win a campaign from the House.
Well, I tell you what, I'm following the rules, man. True. Number one, I'm keeping the rules. My governor says he doesn't want us out. I haven't been out. I wear my mask. I have a mask. I got Secret Service outside. I walk outside. I have it on. They get tested. And by the way, I'm beating them across the board. Of 160 million people have watched me so far on shows like yours.
Okay.
All the stuff about it hurting me. It's not hurting me. I'm winning in all those states. I'm ahead in all the national polls. And the more he talks, the better off I am.
Yeah, we know polls can be illusions, though. Like, we looked at all the polls in 2016, too, and look what happened.
Totally different, man. 2016 is totally different. What you had then is you had somebody who didn't know it all. They wanted to just change the system the way it was. He was the biggest change. He had no serious opposition that turned out to materialize. And so it's totally different. Right now, we're in a situation where it's like, you know, that Carney show goes through town once and you find out there's no pee under any one of those 3 shells that get pushed around. Mm-hmm. Next time it comes back, what do? Next time it comes back, you ain't playing. You got to figure it out. Okay. And let me tell you something. My community figured it out a while ago. But here's the deal. What I have to do is I have to continue to talk about the things that matter. And the things that matter are, for example, right now there's a study out of Columbia University and the Disease Control Center up there. They pointed out that if he had listened to me and others and acted just 1 week earlier to deal with this virus, there'd be 36,000 fewer people dead. And you guys are wondering, what's he doing? Come on, man. Get a life.
Hold on. I want to stop it there.
Oh my God.
I'm taking notes.
I want to stop it there. First thing that jumps off, and I want to get everybody's reaction.
I got to say something real quick.
Go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead, because I'm gathering myself. Go ahead.
Building off of what the brilliant sister Ericka said. Like, who are your handlers?
Yeah.
Mr. Vice President. Is it Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Because that seems like that's your comms director right now. Honestly, you don't just say like something like COVID-19 is and it's killing Black people. You know what I'm saying? Where's your plan? The first plan you came up with was called the Lift Every Voice plan,
which was offensive as fuck. I'm sorry. Like I was like, why are we? Okay,
I would have given him more props if we would have called it the Niggas for Life plan. You know, if you're gonna give that album props, but the way he talks to us,
is
he going to talk to Mika Brzezinski like that? Is he going to talk to or Chris Cuomo or Jake Tapper? You know what I'm saying? Or what's the sister named Andrea from MSNBC as well? At the 12 o'clock hour, and so it's just this idea that it's not pandering; it's just fake. You get like the thing is what the problem for the Democrats is that Bill Clinton did it too well, and none of the other white candidates can do it as well as Bill Clinton. Like Bill Clinton has many problems, NAFTA, et cetera, et cetera. He signed that climate bill into law, but Bill Clinton could talk to our people. For real. I'm not saying that I love Bill Clinton, but he knew how to go to church. This brother was from Hope, Arkansas. He knew Bill Clinton probably used to sneak into Black churches when he was young and be like, I'm gonna learn how to talk like that when I grow up, and he did. Yes, Sister Ericka, yes, please.
I'm gonna give you this, and this is way left. So forgive me, all of you who love Bill Clinton, and I'm down for Bill. But Bill is the kind of guy we talked about this before, Mr. TJ, but I've dated my fair share of white guys. I married a white guy. Bill's the kind of guy that
we have not talked about that on my show, but we
have talked about that, but that's not the point. The point is that Bill's the kind of white guy who dates Black girls. You know what I'm saying? Bill's got swag. Bill plays saxophone. Bill was he ate collard greens growing up. He knew what pot liquor was. Bill could really connect with us on a different level. Now, somebody from where's Joe from? Delaware, Maine,
Scranton, PA.
He doesn't.
This is
just to your point.
It's charisma. He doesn't have that charisma.
No, it's the vernacular that he's trying to. The use of man.
It's outdated. Man. Come on, man.
That's a different. It's not just pandering, but it's you just need to use complete INGs. You need to please quit the broken English. Don't say ain't.
That's right.
I don't want to hear that. I want to hear you speak as you speak,
Be
like you would speak to anybody else.
That's
speak that way to us, because there's so many wholly educated Black folks who really just want to hear what you have to say as you are, authentically as you are. Don't try to be urban.
That's just Sister Ericka's point. You didn't hear Elizabeth Warren ever speak like that.
Right.
When she was talking to Alicia Garza or Black women for. Elizabeth Warren just talked about the issues. She was talking about redlining, not just in South Carolina, but also in Iowa. You see what I'm saying? But not in a way of saying man, girl, sis, like whatever. Elizabeth Warren, I'm from Oklahoma. I'm a white woman from Massachusetts who teaches at Harvard, and that's who I am. And you know, she had a little slip up with Native American gate, but a big slip up, I would say. But the way she spoke to Black people was the same way that she spoke to white people. It was just about her issues and her platform. Joe, as Sister Ericka says, trying too hard. Yeah, sorry, Brother Dwight.
No,
go ahead, Dwight.
I'm gonna piggyback on what Brother Anthony was talking about, because if you look at the speech Elizabeth Warren gave in Atlanta, it was a masterclass on just how to be authentically yourself in the presence of Black people, right? Like, and her one of her tie-ins was telling the story of Black worker class women and the struggle for labor rights, right? And then tying that into the larger feminist labor struggle, right? And it's just like, she's like, it's part of the larger tapestry. You know, like I can talk about Ida B. Wells Barnett in the context of her juxtaposed to Susan B. Anthony because they were contemporaries, right? And tell you and give you that, right? Because she was intentional enough to think about those connections on how to bridge like the stories of different communities across the spectrum that is America. I think here's the thing, like when Joe Biden's at his best, right? Like because we can harp on him all day and I'm sure we will, but when Joe Biden's at his best, he's the dude from Scranton, PA.
That's right.
Talking about Scranton stuff.
That's right.
Talking about his dad and the mill that he did, you know.
That's right.
Home, blue collar, do your thing, right?
Yeah.
So going back to the point around like who are your people? Yes, you're going on an urban broadcast to talk about Black issues. So let's talk about Black issues. But this goes back to the earlier point. If you're not going to pivot from the things that we're critical of you about, like you were the architect of the 94 Crimes Bill.
That's right.
We've been critical of the 94 Crimes Bill.
And we're going to get to that,
Right. But I'm saying for the last 25 years. So for you to sit here and still try to make it like your central thing, like, nah, it wasn't bad. And then again, when Charlamagne calls him out on mandatory minimums, he's like, but you was there in 84. You know, like later on in the conversation, it's like, it's these kinds of things. That means your people, the people who are training you, aren't reminding you each and every day that here's the problems that Black people are having with you, that they want to talk to you about. The fact that you can't see the harm that was caused by those things and address that issue in 2020 is part of a larger problem. Like, that's the thing. Like, Black folks at minimum want harm reduction.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. Like, you want somebody who's not going to be the worst actor. Like, and that, but he can't even speak to that. Like, and this is the thing. It's like when Trump comes around and says what she's going to do, the First Step Act did this. We got X amount of Black people out of jail with it.
Yeah.
What do you got to equal that, Joe Biden?
Yeah.
What do you got to lose?
And you know what, Dwight? I want to touch on what you said, because I think it's very important for anyone who's listening to this conversation. The reason we may, laugh and we may kiki and kind of, have camaraderie amongst each other. But if we didn't care for this candidate, or as far, not even this candidate, these issues, if we didn't care about him being better, then we wouldn't have these type of discussions, right? So so anyone who listens to this, or I've been hearing a lot of people that's like this, kind of giving their shoulders up, like, well, this is the best we got, so we shouldn't critique Joe because we should just all be on the team. No, any candidate, whether it's local, state, national candidate, it's your job in a part of the democratic process to push that candidate to be the best for your voting bloc. That's what the LGBTQ community does, Latinos do. They're always pushing their candidates to be like, yo, what you just said there, and they're checking them. So Black voters, I'm sick of the disrespect Black voters get as to, well, we're not supposed to say nothing. We're supposed to just sit down, shut up, go ahead and vote, knock on doors, be your sharecroppers to your campaigns, and not say anything when it comes to how this candidate is presenting themselves to our community. We have a right to say what you're saying or how you're presenting yourself in our house is disrespectful. And Charlamagne being on the #1 urban talk radio show, where they are basically building an empire, media empire off of Black listeners and Black viewers, we have a right to tell him, hey, while you're in our house, your vernacular and the way you're addressing us is
conduct yourself accordingly, right?
And take your shoes off at the door, bro. All right, and make sure you don't sit in the couch with the plastic. You see
but
what
you
I'm saying?
also have to come at him correct. Go ahead, Miss Donna.
Yeah, go ahead, Donna.
Okay, so I've been in a few presidential campaigns, and I think we're losing at the point of vetting, right? And so when we go to vet, we're not in the conversation as a collective. There are selected Blacks who will go along with the party line that are chosen to be in the room, you know, for like from Hamilton. And right?
Speak on that.
Remember, they never knew why the Capitol ended up being in Virginia and not in New York, because Madison, Adams, and Jefferson, Madison, and Hamilton were the only ones in the room. If you're not in the room when it happens, you get what you get. White people are telling us not to throw a fit. Now, which brings me to the next point. Inside of these campaigns, if you're any degree of woke Black people, like I said, we're not a monolith. If you're any degree of woke Black person, that shit is depressing.
Yeah.
Okay. Some named Justin, Chad, and Connor who can never be wrong, that the candidate trusts implicitly and takes their advice. So when Roland Martin calls up, and I'm speaking to real experiences, but I got NDAs. I can't name names, but I'm gonna get down right quick.
Please do. We name names on this
if you
show.
give me clues, I'll name the names down.
Come on. We name names on this show. We're very ready.
Protect your NDAs, sis. Protect your NDAs.
Give me the clues. I'll drop the names. Don't worry about
it. I got an NDA with Klobuchar. So what I want to say here is that there's a white guy who is the omnipotent administrator who knows all. The handmaidens are the white women who make sure that the Black people and the biracial Black people whisperer cannot get to the candidate to tell them what they
I believe that.
Conversation, right? This is church. If we're not having that conversation, who's in the room when the vetting takes place? Who's in the candidate's ear, right? How do you get Omarosa in the White House? You know how you get Omarosa in the White House. So and then when she gets carried out, she says, Black people, y'all not gonna ride for me, bitch.
No, we're not.
In these campaigns, there's a Black people whisperer on that outer circle of the inner circle. And then there's the rest of us who are window dressing. You cannot change the way you govern until you change how you campaign for government. This thing that we're having today about Biden is like, it's a subplot, right? The plot is who has the power to make decisions about who ultimately ends up in power.
Damn.
By the way, I want to give credit to John Podesta, Robbie Mook. I'm just going to throw them out there. These are the white people that she was talking, quietly. I ain't got no NDA, you know what I'm saying? But to what Donna was talking about, when you think about those folks who are in those inner sanctums, it's the fact that you don't have a Black person present. And going back to the Clinton thing, the reality was that Vernon Jordan was definitely on the inside with Bill Clinton. You know what I'm saying? Like one of the few people to ever do that kind of breakthrough, Ron Brown, rest in peace, was definitely on the inside and kicked in the doors to make sure they were there. What you've had over the course of these last few campaigns, you know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, Michelle Obama and Valerie Jarrett were those people for Obama. Because as much as we don't want to say it, you're talking about somebody who spent his life in Hawaii and spent his life pretty much Black adjacent, right? Who needed Southside Michelle to let him know, right? You know what I'm saying? And these are those things that people don't want to talk about, but in this space, it's like, who is that for Biden? Because I remember when Simone was in that Ebony Magazine article with these are the 6 people Biden's got, in his campaign, and you start looking at titles, I was like, oh, none of y'all got no say so in this campaign. As soon as you read the article, you were like, deputy communications.
But I think that's a very important point. Go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead.
Brother Dwight's point, like he's talking about the anomaly of the alabaster puppet master. For Obama, it was Rahm Emanuel, right? He made Obama. He let Obama speak. There are no red states or blue states. We're the United States. When Kerry lost, and the Clintons hated Rahm Emanuel for that because that elevated Obama. The alabaster puppet master. There's an alabaster puppet master. John Podesta's got strings everywhere. I mean, this brother is a puppet master, and that's the thing, is who are the Black people in the room is what Sister Donna was talking about. Now, for all of the criticisms and frustration I have with the good brother from Vermont, Brother Bernie Sanders, I know that he was listening to the good Dr. Cornel West, and that he was listening to Sister Nina Turner. Right? Elizabeth Warren listening to Alicia Garza and Black Women For. If you look at the endorsement for Black Women For, it wasn't an endorsement, it was an MOU that included a quotient of accountability. Where is Joe Biden's accountability? Who is he accountable to? Which Black people is he accountable to? And we got to talk about the Congressional Bootlicker Caucus, because the brother from South Carolina said he's an honorary Black man. And that gave him that license to maybe— we
got to quit that.
As we, Malcolm Haj Malik al-Shabazz, who we just celebrated, his birthday recently this week, used to call the white man mighty, because it makes you mighty to think that you can get away with that stuff. James Clyburn dubs you as, and basically delivered the Black vote to you, even though Donna Davis is right. We're not monolithic. You know what I'm saying? But Black folk in South Carolina say they made their decision because James Clyburn came out and endorsed this brother. You know what I'm saying? We have not heard from our good sister, Auntie Maxine. I want to hear from her. We have not heard from our good brother who is suffering from health ailments right now, John Lewis. And are wishing the best for. We have not heard, we can't hear anymore from our good brother, John Cornyn. From Michigan, great brother, who is the original forefather of Medicare for All, by the way, even though people try to give it to Bernie. And we need to hear from not just leaders like us, from Sister Dwight, Brother Dwight, and Sister Donna and Sister Ericka. Where's Barbara from Texas?
But aren't we, Anthony? But Anthony, don't we see? Is this like, it's like Groundhog's Day? Don't we talk about this strategy within the Democratic Party every election cycle? Because for me, even in Florida, we talk about, hey, whenever there's a presidential or a gubernatorial campaign, we're like, wait a minute, you're hiring these, racially ambiguous, biracial people that you feel are real safe. But then when it comes to the groundwork, we always get the midnight hour phone call, to knock on doors or to do some moving and shaking, to do some grassroots navigating. But you want all, similar to when I was at FAMU during the Obama campaign, you had people like myself, Jamal Rose, Lucas Melton. We was out there, Sierra Taylor back in the day. Like, we was out there doing it in Tallahassee, making moves. But they'll go hire, these Obama campaigns will go hire a white girl who's a freshman at Florida State to be the community organizer over the entire operation. And then we just a little black little minion. So this is a rooted problem within the actual Democratic Party. And when you have people like Candace Owens and Kanye West, when they talk about the Democratic plantation, these are the type of things that they're talking. These are the type of things that they're talking about. And when a candidate talks like this, and you could see that there's clearly a disconnect and there's no proximity to power among Black folks in these political circles.
I think what they're doing is they're looking at the voter turnouts, and they're basing that on the need to have more Black people that are present as the spokespeople and as their surrogates and as their whomever. That's what they're really looking at. So then when we have a situation like this where, he totally F's up on this platform, now we got a lot of Black people. All my timeline was talking about, I ain't voting for him. Oh, he's lost my vote. 0 chance he'll get my vote. So now when we have that makes it even more, it brings more credence to the idea that, we don't need to even really worry about them because they're not going to really vote. They're just going to kind of halfway vote. It's only going to be the 6 people who are on here who are going to really vote.
But the thing is, when it comes, I'm tired of the conversation that Black people, regardless of Trump is not the boogeyman, regardless if it's Trump or regardless of it's Biden, right? When you go to the inner city, it's the same damn person, right? So you telling them, just vote for the lesser of two evils. when you're hungry and you're poor and you see and you or you're seeing that your life, because not all Black people are poor, but when you're seeing like the circumstances in your life are not gonna change based upon who's in the White House, why should you care? And it's not their responsibility. It's Biden's responsibility to earn Black votes. We don't have to.
TJ, I just want to read some stats. TJ, I just want to read some stats. Sorry, Sister Donna.
Yes, and then I'm gonna go to Donna, and we'll go back to the clip.
The New York Times article last week. 2016, Trump won Florida, 113,000 votes. Black folk who didn't vote, 1.04 million. Georgia, Trump wins by 211,000 votes. Black folk who didn't vote, 898,000. North Carolina, Trump wins 173,000 votes. 487,000 Black folk didn't vote. Michigan, Trump only won by 11,000 votes. 393 registered Black folk didn't vote. Pennsylvania, Trump wins by 44,000. 367 registered Black folk didn't vote. And Wisconsin, he wins by 23,000. 129,000 Black folk didn't vote. Donna, Dwight, Sister Ericka, every close race that was lost by a white candidate is a result of the Black folk not coming out to vote for them. So everything that you're saying is absolutely correct. We need the good brother Stephen Phillips. Brown is the new white. He has basically broken it down for all of us. John Ossoff in your neighboring state in Georgia ran for one of the most expensive House races of all time. No outreach to Black communities. People still scratching their heads. I wonder why he lost. We know why he lost.
And then Jordan Davis's mom comes back and wins that same seat.
That's right.
Yeah. Right. Mr. Donna, go ahead.
Okay, so those numbers that Brother Anthony is quoting are my Bible, right? The canon is that when we're losing elections by 3 or 4 points, Mondale would say the consultant's canon.
That's Mondale Robinson, a good brother, yes.
We've been in the trenches for years together, right? We've been a lot of states together. But I would say that when we're losing campaigns by 3 to 4%, we're losing those contests in the field, right? I think that with the election of 45 says that anybody who runs a tight game and has tactics that penetrate the electorate can win. It doesn't matter if you're a total freak, right? You can win an election. And so when I think about the numbers that Black people are voting in, what it tells me is that, and I want to say this to you, Brother Anthony, you've invoked the name Alicia Garza several times. As you know, I ran the Black Lives Matter chapter here in Florida. Alicia Garza came to town. She took thousands of dollars in honorarium dollars from the USF, that's 20 minutes that way. And never asked to meet the people who were making her famous in this chapter. At the time, I was spending my unemployment dollars to paint banners and to put thousands of people in the streets of Tampa. We changed this town. I have never spoken to Alicia Garza, and the only contact I've ever had with her was when she skipped out on a class she was supposed to teach at the Movement for Black Lives, never showed up, never sent a surrogate, nothing. So when Elizabeth Warren, whom I love, and I have met and had the pleasure to do some things with, when she chose all those Twitter blue checks, what she forgot is that a lot of those Twitter blue checks have big platforms that do a lot of talking. What she was high profile organizers. When they call me to come into Tampa and they say, we need this transportation bill to pass so we can develop the port, billions of dollars. They sell a contract that's bigger than what we can actually deliver. And then they call me and they say, Donna, we need to knock on 30,000 doors in 30 days. And I say, I don't have a staff. I have nothing. Everybody's working. And they say, but we told them 50,000, but we know we're not going to get within a stone's throw. And when 26 days later, you've got 58,000 door knocks. You don't call people like me. You call people who have a book that didn't sell in Barnes and Noble. You're trying to lose at that point. You want to lose it. Because I know what I do. I know what Mondale does. I know what Anthony does. And I know what some of those names that you threw out earlier do. They just talk and they sound smart. They sell a couple articles to a rag. That's it. Yeah. When you want to win, you hire organizers, you hire people. I've supervised over 3 million door knocks in my career. You call those people if you want to get that 100,000 votes. They're out there. They were out there for what's Gillum. They were out there for Gillum. He chose to leave it on the table and money in the bank. I think this is a scam, y'all, because I've been for too long, and I want to unwrap and I want to break down the anatomy of the scam. We're being scammed.
First of all, I would just like to say that you need to be writing a book. If you haven't written a book, we need to be talking about you writing a book. Forget your NDAs, because you need to be in Barnes and Noble. Okay? I'm serious, because you've got too much passion to be overlooked in whatever regard. Like, every candidate should be talking to you about, if not just Tampa, all of Florida. Like, when you think about people who have real sincere passion about how to make this thing actually work for us, and you're overlooking them to go and get somebody with a blue check, it's mind-blowing. But that's really what we're living in.
But you know what's crazy is that all of the activists, like, who are in these circles, we know who's real and who's not. We know.
Yeah, but is it working though?
I know, but when they get these jobs or they get these things, we're like, oh, okay. We already know, and we make sure we keep our cell phones by the side, because we're like, yep, you hired that person because they have a nice little resume or whatever, you know, and they talk a good game in the room, but they can't connect with people, and people forget. And I want to talk about organizing and activism. It's an art form. It ain't nobody. You can't just. It's an art form. You don't have to be an expert to be an advocate, but it is an actual craft. It is an art form. In order to go to, like, I feel like I can go to, and it doesn't matter. I could go any community and actually organize and connect with people and talk with people. James Baldwin was excellent. He's one of my influencers. He was excellent at that, as being able to articulate the Black experience to people who are not Black in other communities.
That's right. And this is where Sister Donna is so authentic. She's carrying that fire of Ella Baker, and I do appreciate her for mentioning that about, you know, icon culture is going to get us killed. This is where Sister Donna is that continuation of Ida B and Ella Baker, because Ella Baker said strong people do not need strong leaders. Right? And Ella Baker was also about the intergenerational and intergenerational organizing. She told off Dr. King. She's like, you're not going to talk to me like that. You cheat on your wife. You ain't going to say that to me. But Ella Baker also didn't like the camera or the news articles. We don't really have a biography on Sister Ella Baker. We only really know about her work with SNCC. And that's what Sister Donna's talking about. So I'm holding me accountable, Sister Donna, because you're right. We get ensorcelled by these shiny objects too much, and the real organizers are the ones who have the dirt in their fingernails.
Yeah. So I want to get to your point, Dwight, and then I'm gonna play the clip of Biden and the '94 crime bill, so we could talk about.
Absolutely. I want to piggyback on the organizing point, just because great organizer by the name of Bob Wing, phenomenal human being out in Cali. He always talks about why field is so important, why organizing is so important, because it moves the margins. And so I want to talk about two important numbers, 91 and 93. 91 and 93. 93 is the percentage of Black vote that Obama got. 91 is the percentage that Hillary Clinton got. One was a win, one was a loss, right? And that 2% is so significant because it encompasses all those numbers Brother Anthony talked about, right? The fact that Detroit is left untouched and on the table. The fact that nobody's going to Atlanta. The fact that nobody's talking about flipping Mississippi and Texas. You know what I'm saying? Where you just have this abundance of people who are out here hungry, and people are out here on the ground. Shout out to Texas Organizing Project. Shout out to New Georgia Project. Shout out to Detroit Action out there in Michigan, doing all this work on the ground, who are out here like, what the hell? Why are you not looking out for me in these moments? And so I just want to, bringing it back to the whole Biden point, what makes these interviews and these gaffes so problematic is if you know you need to move 2% to get 2% is the margin between a win and a loss. When you mess around and make these big time mistakes on these platforms, you're losing that 2%. So now you're sitting back, you know, and you come up, and this is what white consultants do. They'll sit there and be like, oh yeah, you know, we got 90% of the black vote, but you need 93.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We got black vote. You need, Cornell Belcher put the numbers down, right? Cornell Belcher was like, this 3% could literally mean the difference between you never receiving a governorship or presidency again, or you getting it all the time. All you have to do is be responsible for 3%. So it's just like, it seems like such simple math, but things like this are the problem. But go ahead, you can show the clip, but this is the problem.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the clip, and for those who are watching, I'm definitely gonna address the comments in the chat room. I know people are chiming in, so thank you all for watching. We're gonna go to the clip of Joe Biden talking about the 94 crime bill.
Exactly how many people in the black community losing their lives. We had not only addressed the institutional racism, we've seen it more clearly now. In a black majority county, they're 6 times more likely to die in the pandemic than a white county. They're disproportionately uninsured in the African American community, disproportionately make up the essential jobs.
For those who are watching, I'm gonna fast forward. Let me find the spot where you talk about the 94 crime bill.
That they can't. I won every single county. Come on, man. Give me a little break here. This is where I come from. I got East Side because I wanted to work in the projects, because I wanted every major city black mayor supported the crime bill.
Okay.
Because black white employee in East Side because I wanted to work in the projects, because I wanted to understand middle income household. I quit and became a public defender. And I stayed in that community. I was the only guy when I was in high school. I had a job, a country club kind of job at a swimming pool. I was the only white employee in East Side because I wanted to work in the projects, because I wanted to understand. That's how I got involved in politics. That's what this is all about for me. It's about equality. It's about dignity. It's about treating people with respect. And so, you know, when you take a look at my record, people talk about the crime bill. Crime bill didn't increase mass incarceration. Other things increased mass incarceration. And the reason why, if you go back and look, and I know you talk about it, you go back and take a look. That's why you had the vast majority of the Black Caucus at the time supporting the crime bill. Almost every major city black mayor supported the crime bill, because blacks were getting killed overwhelmingly as well. And what happened when that crime bill? It had 4 or 5 really important things. It had the Violence Against Women Act. It said drug courts, don't send anybody who has a drug problem to jail, send them to rehabilitation, to a drug court. It had in it, the assault weapons ban, getting rid of assault weapons, getting rid of the number of rounds you could have in a gun. It also had in it a whole range of other things, but had things I didn't like. Clinton wanted to put in a deal where, in fact, 3 strikes and you're out. I opposed that 3 strikes and you're out bill. I opposed the position taken that saying that you're going to have any mandatory sentences. But on balance, the whole bill, what happened was it did, in fact, bring down violent crime in black communities as well. And guess what? The fact is, prison population didn't increase. 94% of every prisoner in jail is in a state prison, not a federal prison, no federal law. And here's the deal. The one thing I opposed in that bill was people wanting to give money to state prisons to build more prisons. I opposed it. But the point was, on balance, everything from the assault women's ban to the violence against women ban to the drug courts, they were important. And now look what we can do. Look, I've been pushing, along with my colleagues in a Black Caucus in the United States Congress, we should change the entire, and I've been doing this for a while, change the entire prison system from one that is punishment to rehabilitation. There's only a couple things everybody has in common in jail. One is they were the victims of abuse, or their kids were, or their mother was. Number 2, can't read. Number 3, They don't have any job skills. They were in a position where they didn't get a chance. Why does it make sense? Why did I come along and write the first act that said when you get out of prison, you don't just get a notion where you get $25 and a bus ticket. You end up under the bridge. You end up under the bridge and just do the same place. So every single solitary person being released from prison should have access to every single government program. Why does it not make sense to have African Americans who are getting out of prison, who serve their time, everybody for that matter, be able to have public housing? Why doesn't it make sense that they can have Pell Grants to go to school? Why doesn't it make sense they can have access to health care? What are we, nuts? That's what we keep doing.
Yeah, sorry, that's our time there.
No, I'm sorry. I know Jill has to use this, but I've talked too much. I apologize.
No, I gotta ask you though, why so much resistance on admitting the crime bill and other legislation you are a part of was damaging to the Black community? Because we had Hillary on a few years ago, and Ms. Clinton said that the crime bill, we made a lot of mistakes with that, and she wanted to atone for that by becoming the next president. Like,
she was wrong. What happened was it wasn't the crime bill. It was the drug legislation. It was the institution of mandatory minimums, which I oppose. Mandatory. I oppose the ban.
I thought you was a part of that in '84 as well. The Comprehensive Crime Control Act that established mandatory minimum sentences for drug offenses.
No. What happened was what you're confusing is what happened was the Black Caucus came to me and said, "Look, I did this study when I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee. We looked at every district of the of the 10 court districts in America, federal court districts, and we found out that if you got arrested for robbery and convicted, and I got arrested for robbery and convicted, it was the first time, you went to jail an average of 13 years. I went to jail an average of 3 years. So there was this whole move, same time for the same crime. So no one based on their color could go to jail longer than anybody else for the same crime. So what happened was there was a judicial selection committee setting up that how you deal with making sure that the sentencing process is taken out of the hands of prosecutors saying, I'm going to want 12 years, 13 years for you, and 3 years for me. The end result of that was the unintended consequence, which we changed, Barack and I did, was the fact that you, in fact, all of a sudden, you could not lower my sentence or your sentence be lower than what was the average sentence for everybody else going to jail in the districts. That's how that came about. It didn't say mandatory. We said to the judges, you can't send people to jail for the same crime different times. They have to be within a framework. That's why that has been changed. And while I was vice president, I helped Barack. We reduced the prison population federally by 38,000 people. 38,000 people. And the only mandatory was in there was carjacking, which I opposed, and 3 strikes and you're out, which is ridiculous. It only was imposed 3 times. But still, even once makes no sense. The idea of 3 strikes and you're out. Give me a break. And the other thing we have to do, one of the things that, I was a public defender. I'm going to insist when I'm president that a federal public defender gets paid the same amount of money as a federal prosecutor gets paid. So you have representation. People have representation. But the bottom line is, the other piece is, I'm going to try to change, and I've laid it out. I'll send you a copy of my plan so you have it to see it.
Deliver every voice?
Pardon me?
What, deliver every voice or what?
No, the plan I have is my manifesto for Black America. and particularly the portion of it that relates to how, in fact, we're going to deal with the prison system. If you are in prison, if you are convicted of a crime, no one should be going to jail for drug crime, period. Nobody. No matter what the crime, particularly marijuana, which makes no sense for people to go to jail. They should be just wiped out completely. And the reason is that, if anything, for those crimes that are actually continue to be crimes, scheduled crimes, as marijuana shouldn't be anymore, what is happening is you shouldn't go to prison. You should go to a mandatory rehabilitation. It costs less to put people in a drug rehabilitation program than it does in jail.
All right, I'm gonna stop it there.
So you're gonna go to rehab for selling?
The way he said it, listen, there's definitely a lot to unpack, but I want you guys to, we have somebody else that popped in with us, good brother, Russell Drake. What's up, Russell?
Hey.
Hey, one love to all of y'all. Hey, man, I think y'all are wonderful folks, and y'all are making some solid commentary. Super Black. I know Dwight Bullard's on here. I see my sister.
Are you freezed up a little bit?
I can't drive in Zoom.
He's driving in Zoom.
Driving out of Tampa was, hey, man. Yeah, I'm driving. You know, I go to black businesses every day of the week, 100+ days. So I'm coming from a black business. I've been on my black business tour. And, hey, man, y'all been making some solid comments, and I want to say I'm 100% on board with everything y'all said. Hey, we can't sell our vote short for somebody who don't comprehend everything that we embrace as blacks in America and in the state of Florida, for that matter. You know, if somebody wants to embrace what we're going through, they need to really awaken. The people that are advising the VP Biden, I'm very disappointed at them. You know, that clip was very disturbing to see for the second time. The first time it was horrible for me, but the second time it really made it more disturbing. It's one thing to be confident in what you say. It's another thing just not to be open to experiences and challenges and feelings that other people clearly have about it. And you know, we got to do better. You know, I'm disgusted at Trump by all means, but you know, we're not seeing and feeling that much better right now with what we just saw out of VP Biden. Yeah. You know, he seems like the candidate of many's choice, but he's got to talk to us better than that. He's got to address our concerns, and more than any of that, he's got to atone for stuff he's done wrong. You know, yeah. If we got a problem with white privilege that stems all the way down to criminal justice in Georgia right now, and we're seeing it everywhere else in the nation, in the White House, we can't afford to have white privilege any longer.
Yeah, I feel you. And just so that everybody knows who's watching this or listening to this, Russell is the first vice president of the Democratic, of the Florida Democratic Black Caucus. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and and he's still running to be president of the Black Caucus, or I don't know what the latest is on that, brother.
Yeah, none of us do. And you know, when our illegitimate president wants to have an election, you know, and you know, I heard y'all say something about you know, that you know about real brothers and sisters and fake ones, and you know about the people who keep a solid ground even when people put them in tough and tight situations. And unfortunately, other folks, when they find themselves in tight situations, utilize the same tools and schemes and methods that have been used to oppress us and try to push us aside in the same manner. Or, you know, or get in a seat and they sit up there, you know, when they're behind closed doors, they're Angela Davis, but when they're sitting at the table, they're Wayne Brady with it. You know,
right.
We can't afford to have that anymore. You know, we cannot afford to have that anymore. Yeah. We got to call them out and set them straight. So I got mad respect for all of y'all because y'all keep it 100 and you encourage people to keep it 100. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yo, and I want to start with you, Senator Dwight Bullard, about the 94, Biden's comments about the 94 crime bill. There are still some folks, right, who are new to the political game. There's still some folks that don't necessarily understand what that all means. So explain to, you know, I want to say in layman's terms, for lack of a better term, but explain, kind of summarize what the 94 crime bill was and how it was a detriment to the Black community, and how there are residual effects still to this day.
All right.
I know that's loaded. That's a lot I gave to you, but yeah.
So I want to preface by simply saying that anyone out there who's listening needs to go talk to a brother or sister who's 30 years old, and the last time they saw their father or their uncle or their brother was when they were 4 or 5, right? To fully appreciate the impact of the 94 Crimes Bill. Because we're talking over the last 25, 26 years, a piece of legislation that, if you've looked at the documentary 13th, right?
I still haven't seen that though.
Right. If you look at documentary 13th, what you appreciate about what Ava DuVernay's done, what Michelle Alexander talked about in The New Jim Crow, was this explosion of mass incarceration, police brutality, and action. So 94 Crimes Bill comes kind of at the time that it basically is the perfect storm where the war on drugs meets, federal and state desire to deal with the crack era of the 1980s, right? Where you now have federal legislation coming into play that says we must create a system that deals with what we now view as a problem, not, in the Black community, but nationwide as a whole. And I want to give context because now we talk about this notion of the opioid crisis, right? And so if we look at the last 4 years, people talking about the opioid crisis is exploding. If someone were to come along in 2020 and basically say that we need to start mass locking up individuals who are in places like New Hampshire, Maine, Iowa, where they see themselves being victimized by prescription drugs and the need to self-medicate, people be looking at us like we crazy. But rewind the clock, and this is literally what you have happening in 1986, 87, 88, 89, where folks are now simply saying, to deal with this problem of mass drug addiction, hyper addiction, related to the abundance of drugs in minority communities, let's not deal with it as a public health crisis. Let's deal with it as a criminology crisis. Let's lock these folks up. So what Vice President Biden talks about in that clip, without getting too deep into the weeds, is yes, does the 94 Crime Bill have multiple components? And does he talk about and applaud the components that are the assault weapons ban and the Violence Against Women Act? But what he glances over is all the other things that he mentions at the end of that. Like, he names 3 things and then says, and there was a bunch of other stuff. The bunch of other stuff was solidifying mandatory minimums, right? Making them, making a requirement for 85% of time, getting rid of things like gain time and the ability for individuals to rehabilitate themselves in incarceration and thus work their way out of it, right? It then gives almost unilateral ability to the states to now exacerbate what the federal government had already done. So Charlamagne talks about the 84 Act in terms of that. He basically, the 94 Crimes Bill basically gives states the then authority to implement 3-strike rules, to implement mandatory minimums, because in 94, what they also didn't want to do was overburden the federal prison system, and now want the states to be more advantageous in that. The way you incentivize that is by basically creating a federal pipeline for dollars to law enforcement agencies at the state level. So now you have basically a spending bill for police. So police are now able to tap the government till for AR-15s, SWAT equipment. You also get the creation of the act that basically allows for military vehicles to be used by law enforcement. So you're able to get tanks and Humvees coming out of this, because they had many leftover tanks and Humvees from the Gulf War in 90 and 91 that they needed to get rid of. So these are all these little idiosyncrasies that come out of the 94 Crimes Bill. But for Vice President Biden to simply kind of try to land it like it didn't do those things, not only disingenuous, but irresponsible. Irresponsible because you literally have scholarly works, documentation, and best-selling books.
Yeah, it's revisionist history.
Alexander.
It's basically revisionist history, as if man, we got the internet now. You can't research this stuff.
Like this ain't nothing but a Google search.
Go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead.
Because to Brother Dwight's point, I want to dispel this bullshit, quite frankly, of Violence Against Women Act in it. Because if you think that crime bill did not lead to more violence against Black and Indigenous women, you're crazy. What about Breonna Taylor and Sandra Bland and Tamika Anderson, Yvette Smith, Miriam Carey, Shelley Frey, Darren Harris, all these Black women who were killed by police who were emboldened by that crime bill? The Violence Against Women Act aspect of it, it increased violence from the state against Black and Indigenous women, missing and murdered Indigenous women with these pipelines and these man camps, and Black women who are being shot in their own homes.
Black trans women, absolutely.
Violence against women is an albatross. That's not real. You know what I'm saying? And so that's like, and there's a reason, right, why Auntie Maxine, John Lewis, and John Conges did not vote for the crime bill. Are you going to really tell me that Auntie Maxine is anti-woman, is not a feminist? She might not be Gloria Steinem, but she also didn't sell out Monica Lewinsky like Gloria Steinem did. You know, because she saw that violence against women thing, that portion, was to make suckers out of people. That bill should have been voted clean, and the Violence Against Women Act should have been voted clean. They added that to shame Democrats and congressional bootlickers in the Congressional Bootlicker Congress to have to vote for it. But don't tell me that the crime bill did not lead to violence against Black and Indigenous women. When you rip away our families, when you take our men out of our communities, when you're killing our children, what is the biggest act of violence? Is a mother having to bury her child, like the brother Trayvon Martin, and far too many other Black women having to bury their children. So that is disingenuous, and we need to tell the full truth. And we need to ask and to say to us, Sister Maxine and the Sister John Lewis, and even though I know he's not healthy right now, why did you vote no on that bill? Because they knew the truth. They knew what it was going to lead to, and they still voted no on it. So don't give me that. Joe's not being genuine right now, and I want to hear from our Black sisters about that. Yeah, because Sister Donna and Sister Ericka, because that's whack. That's smokescreen. That's obfuscation. I'm gonna start with Donna. I would definitely wanted to hear, and then we're gonna segue because I want to hear Sister Donna, Sister Ericka. I want to hear y'all position on the campaign that's been going on as far as a Black woman being the vice president, so we could segue to that as well. How did Joe's answer land with you, Donna, when he discussed the '94 crime bill?
I paint by numbers, right? If the numbers don't bear out what you're trying to sell, I can't purchase it, right? Because I got a budget, I got an intellectual budget. And if you're trying to sell me something that
I like that
the fuckery is too high, then I'm just gonna have to find another vendor, right? So I'm not buying it, number one. Everybody knows that 1 million Black people in jail just didn't happen, right? There were some things that happened the '94 crime bill. This stuff started in the '70s, right? The war on people has been around since the advent of colonists on these colonizers on these shores. We know that. Leopold in Africa. I mean, this stuff has deep, deep roots, okay? Now, I like to grasp things at their root because I think a lot of the times the current generational ethos of the folks behind me is to take things at face value, and to start history where they are. And I like to look at the context in which things are occurring and what the history of those things are. Ain't nobody gonna say nothing about Tara Reid. You know, I was talking to Chris Hedges a few years back, and he said to me, he really connected the dots for me. about the rape of the earth, widespread misogyny, the women that go missing, and how these white men can run for office as proven serial rapists and sexual assaulters. And somehow that's okay. If you're electing a rapist, you've got to know that none of the things that you hope for are going to happen in the vein of liberation are going to take place. This is a jailer and a rapist. So I don't know what people expect to happen here because it hasn't happened yet. And our choices are getting even worse as time goes by. And so the search for a Black VP. Well, first of all, y'all not going to like me saying this.
Uh-oh. No. We this is all, say it. Go ahead, let it out. Let it out.
We don't have any options, right? The women who can carry that water and who are not going to be up there becoming millionaires have not yet been named.
You talk about the VP thing. You talk about the VP.
He don't have no options. He don't have no options, and he's going to choose Amy Klobuchar. And let me tell you something. I was on that campaign.
Hold on. Before you get, I want you to hold that comment because I want to play a clip before you do that. I know you're about to go.
Breaking news.
I want to get Ericka's thoughts on the crime bill, and then I'm gonna play a clip, and then we're gonna go right to that VP conversation because I know, and I'm gonna let y'all just go.
Donna, I see you.
I got you, Donna. Hey, I'm not suppressing your bars. I'm just making sure we got everything on wax. All right, Ericka, real quick. Yeah, no, you good. Don't calm down. I just want to hit Ericka real quick. Ericka, as far as the crime bill, when we talk about that whole lesser of two evils, with you see mass, especially with our youth, you see this mass incarceration that's going on, families that were affected. It's almost like, why are we giving Joe Biden a raise as the Black community for being a detriment to our people?
Well, I feel like there's so many things to say. Number one, Black people need to have we need to have our own damn agenda. Number one, we don't have one. We really don't. We talk about it, thank you, Diddy, for standing up and saying something, I guess, but you still didn't present anything. So if Black people don't really, it's almost like, okay, I want the guy to call me more, but I don't really know how to tell him to do that. No, we got to know clearly what is it that we want from you. And then we need to state it, and we need to be, factual about it. Like, we all can get on TikTok and do we all know the words to the Megan Thee Stallion song, but we don't know what we really want out of our candidates, but we're not going to vote for them. It's crazy.
But does this go back to the whole, I think what Black people want is, what Malcolm X said, you stab me in the back with a 9-inch knife, you pull it out 3 inches, and you call it progress. And I think right now, before we even have an agenda, we want you to even acknowledge, one, there's a knife in my back. Two, you've caused the wound in my community. Before we can even get to healing, the knife is still in the back. We need to do some surgery. And you talking about, before we doing surgery, you talking about how my insurance and you need more money in order to patch up this hole in my back.
I feel you, but we got 6 months. We got 5 to 6 months to perform the surgery, and every day I see ads against Joe Biden from the Trump camp every single day. So we got to perform surgery pretty quickly because we're in the ER, like we're losing blood, straight up. So at the end of the day, his statement, again, back to his handlers, I need for his people, whoever his whisperers are, they need to be whispering a lot more loudly that he needs to have a much better, he needs to acknowledge and have a real answer about the 94 crime bill. He doesn't need to just sit around and kind of beat around the bush about it. He fell into a landmine when he just, was like, nobody needs to go to jail for drug crimes. Like, dude, really? Like, that ain't gonna work. Even when you're on a tight timeline and you need to go and you're just like saying stuff and you're just grabbing and shooting from the hip, you need to really say something that can stick and something that they won't be able to play back, because this is something that could very well be used in another ad. Like
it will be. Ain't no if.
You know what I mean? So don't do that. That's my biggest problem is that they just don't have the right handlers. He's going to lose if he doesn't get control right now. If he doesn't hire Don Davis right now, he's gonna lose. That's how I feel.
Well, let me go ahead and just in all fairness, I want to read off some Twitter comments. One for Simone Sanders. I want everybody so we are thorough in our analysis. This is what Simone Sanders put on Twitter, and folks was she ran in for Monsieur Candy, and people were dragging her. She said,
Django reference. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Django, yeah. Thank you. She goes, Vice President Biden spent his career fighting alongside and for the African-American community. He won his party's nomination by earning every vote and meeting people where they are. That's what he intends to do this November. She further goes on to say, the comments made at the end of the Breakfast Club interview were in jest, but let's be clear about what VP Biden was saying. He was making the distinction that he would put his record with African-American community up against Trump's any day, period. And people dragged her. I got one more. I definitely want to, hold on, because Biden did have his comments. Let me go ahead and pull it up on Twitter. Y'all bear with me. Appreciate y'all. Hold on. Damn, it's not on his Twitter. Hold on. Give me 1 second, because I want to make sure I get Biden's comments, because he did put out a statement afterwards.
Yeah, while you're finding that was the worst circle the wagon moment that I've ever heard by, you know what I'm saying? Like,
she had to say something. She's like, look, they probably was like,
that's what I'm saying. I honestly don't think she said that. I think that was one of those, like, some white intern was like, typed that up and was like, Simone, can we put your name on that?
No, but that was on her Twitter. She put that on her Twitter.
No, I'm saying it wasn't.
But did she put it on her Twitter? Right.
Copy and paste is a thing, bro.
Oh, you're right. Hold on, I'm looking for it. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, and we definitely have. First of all, let me address this real quick, because I just saw his face pop up. We don't, as a Black community, we don't want to hear from the GOP and Tim Scott on this issue at all. Like, we don't need you coming on Fox News talking about you were appalled and disgusted by what Biden said, and it was arrogant and offensive. We don't need
I don't hear from any GOP Black explainers. I don't want to hear from a man on Fox News. I don't want to hear none of those folks. But more importantly, I don't want to hear from the white folks either. Like, let's not get it twisted. Like, I definitely don't want to hear from Sean Hannity about or Tucker Carlson about how this is detrimental to Black folks and this, that, and the third, because y'all out here wholesale holding it down for DJT in the White House every day as he out here being atrocious.
Okay. He goes, this is Biden's quote. He says, he said he should not have been so cavalier. I've never, ever taken the African-American community for granted. He goes on to say, I shouldn't have been such a wise guy. And yeah, that was about it. I'm getting it. I'm paraphrasing because I'm getting it from the from an article. So he was just.
Does he think we didn't hear about corn pop earlier this year?
No, he was just being. He said he was being too cavalier. He got caught up in the moment. Like, I'd rather him just go out there and say, like, the realest part of that interview is when he was like, when Charlamagne was pressing him about South Carolina. And he was about to say, I kicked every candidate's ass. Like, that's authentic. Like, that's something where I'm like, yo, okay, if that's what you feel, that resonates with people.
Listen, the numbers bear out.
But when you put out a statement talking about, oh, I've never taken them for granted, it's almost like someone telling you they love you. Don't tell me, show me. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's about your actual actions.
That's that I turn.
First you beat me, and then it's like, but I care about you, right?
It's Stockholm syndrome.
I love you. I really
exactly. All right.
Like the Bones, we was playing Bones, man. The Bones was hot. The Spades was on. The drink was slapping, and I forgot time.
But here's another point I want to make. What Joe Biden said, right, and how he came off in an interview. Tell me that doesn't happen in white corporate America. And I'm talking to the Black folks or people who are listening to us via Spotify and on the streams. and listen to us live.
Listen, that's Gucci sweater.
These conversations or these type of flagrant comments or this type of rhetoric happens every day in white corporate America. In the Black experience, we have to learn how to deal with it in fear of losing our job and employment. Because there's times, just like my brother talked about when Keeping It Real goes wrong, where Dave Chappelle was looking like, oh, give me some 5 on the black, when he was doing that. We have to deal with flagrant white privilege, which is deadlier, or white entitlement, which is deadlier than a pandemic, than the COVID-19 pandemic. It's caused more lives. So it's like, people are dealing with this every day. And so we have to, in Black society, even, how we talk about the talk when it comes to the police, we have to navigate how we deal with these type of folks. You see what I'm saying? Because they're everywhere. And I think Andrew Darling, who's here in Orlando, who's running for Orange County Sheriff, he just texted me and was like, yo, I seriously wish that all the white folks will sit down and listen to y'all streaming of what y'all are talking about right now, because they need to hear the authentic truth. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's the real. They're not hearing it. And for him to be the vice president, if we don't check him now, you think we're gonna be able to check him when he's a president of the United States? Where, just like to Donna or Ericka's point, when we talk about the Black agenda, and we didn't have no Black agenda with Obama. Let's be real now. If we're going to call it like we see it, we just gave Obama, we was happy to have the title. And then Obama got in there and we were all expecting, hey, we want you to do some more stuff for us. And he was like, well, just hold on just a minute. Just give me 1 second, So
first of all, that was a really great impression I've never heard you do.
I do impressions.
Number one, I applaud you.
Mine is better.
I don't know. That was pretty good. But listen, I think that beyond us checking him,
that's the crown apple.
Like I need for you to package this whole thing up, and then we need to literally, on a daily basis, be sending him nuggets of this podcast, perhaps. We need to be inundating Biden's top people, whoever, if y'all know who the people are,
listen, the person who I went to, the person who is over all of the southern states for his organizing, I know. I went to school with him. He's actually a FAMU Rattler.
Shout out to Vince Evans.
Vince Evans. So I'm gonna send this directly to Vince, and I'm gonna
I need Vince to sit down and watch it. I need for him to send some messages. And to really get the message through that this is not going to work. And we need to do it right now, as of this weekend, Memorial Day, fried chicken, buffalo wings, all that. We need to make sure that we put that aside to not miss the opportunity for him to know that this really matters to us.
Absolutely. Right? I want to be respectful of y'all time. Let me go ahead with this clip real quick. So I want to get into the conversation about the campaigning for a Black woman as the vice president. Kennedy, I'll get y'all thoughts on that. Give me 1 second. And for those who are listening, this is a clip. Was an op-ed from the Washington Post with an ensemble of Black women voices in media and the social justice space. So, well, I believe so. Let me just look again. We'll see. Let me not say that. But I saw this clip and I was barely able to finish it. But go ahead. I'll let you listen.
Biden, you need us. You owe us. Black women are miracle workers.
We have been saving the Democratic Party since 1965.
2020 is no different.
Your only path to victory is through Black women.
The voters who need to turn out, we know how to mobilize them. Our votes must not be taken for granted.
The following commitments will begin to show Black voters that you are serious about us.
America needs a Black woman vice president.
Candidates like Amy Klobuchar will not energize us. America needs a Black woman Supreme Court justice.
Remember Anita Hill? We do.
America needs more in a comprehensive Black agenda.
The rules are rigged against our communities.
Whether we are talking about a Black person who died of COVID-19 because of the lack of access to health care,
or Ahmaud Arbery being killed by vigilantes,
or Breonna Taylor, an EMT killed by police while laying in her bed. We deserve solutions that address systemic racism, economic injustice, and domestic terrorism.
Joe Biden, you enacted drug and crime laws that harmed the Black community for generations.
Every major crime bill since 1976, every minor crime bill, has had the name of the Democratic senator from the state of Delaware, Joe Biden, on that bill.
You say you know better now. Show us you're serious by doing better.
This country has a problem.
Police officers and vigilantes are killing us, and our quality of life must improve.
Joe Biden, this must be addressed.
You must address our oppression, and most importantly, embrace our power to win the White House.
Vice President Biden, your campaign's mission is to restore the soul of America.
There is no restoration without us.
All right. Yes, a lot of activists, writers. Hold on. So at this time, I'm going to step back and give Donna, Sister Donna, I'm going to give you the floor, and I'm going to just open up. One, I want to get your thoughts on the video of itself and the packaging, and should there be a Black woman as the vice president, and if so, who?
So first of all, and I'm not pivoting on purpose.
No. This is yours.
There's another part. There's an adjunct to that question, and it is first we have to understand politics. And that video told me that the people who were speaking do not understand politics. I simply cannot stand silently while people represent me and speak on my behalf that don't understand politics. Politics is local. First of all, what is your DA doing, right? Ask yourself that question. They're putting your friends and your cousins in jail. That's what they're doing. And you're sitting there and saying, yeah, he's gonna try to beat the case, but I think he's gonna plead out, my nigga, I think he's gonna plead out. That's where your community is getting shafted, right? Politics is local. What is your mayor doing? Is development inclusive of Black enterprise in your town? That's going to determine what type of opportunity you have, right? Are the junior colleges being, are they admitting people with equity? Do they have programs that speak to the desires of the youth? If we're not asking those questions, and we've gone all the way to Washington, D.C. to try to win the White House, that's like starting your organizing as a campaign manager on a presidential campaign. In 2016, Alicia Garza was apolitical and said that we don't know if we're going to get into politics. It remains yet to be seen. And now you are the spokesperson for Black women in politics. Do you know how many people have been out here shoveling this dirt for generations, for decades? And now we've got a blue check to come in and tell us what we need to do. If we place a woman, now you guys, people say the VP is important, but what I understand this to be is important because Joe Biden is the oldest president that we will ever have elected if he's elected. The chances that something will happen to his health between now and 8 years is very high. The person that he chooses for vice president could very well end up as the president of the United States, de facto giving us the first woman president. I believe that he is going to choose Amy Klobuchar. And I think this was a deal that was made months and months ago. I was on the campaign, not in a position to speak to you about what I know, but I will tell you that when election numbers don't come out, I get them from the CNN newsroom, right? And I'm not saying that to for the clout, right?
No, I got you.
There are two lines, right? One of the lines is what's out there being floated around in media. That's the stuff that the blue checks are arguing about all day long on Twitter. And then there's what's really happening. And there are only certain organizers and money people who know that. And I think it's a terrible thing. I think the news should be true. It just isn't. And so Val Demings, a cop, you go get the police and we ask you for a Black person and you bring us the police. Who does this in real life? And yet people are still writing for Joe Biden. Stacey Abrams, I love her, and she says that her ambition is to serve. If she truly wants to see this country go in a different direction, she will serve us as a United States Senator, and she will begin her campaign today.
Yes.
So when people are talking, okay, when people are talking because I'm not a hack and because I've been in the game, like this is James Cleveland, I've been in the storm too long. So if you don't understand Black people, why are you speaking for Black people, number one? And if your ambition is to serve, you want to travel as close to your home as possible to do that work. Dwight served in Florida, right? Eventually, Dwight will go to Washington, but he started with his people.
Dwight, like, yes, we getting me there.
He's not just a politician, he's an organizer, right? Obama was an organizer. Organizers know how to talk to people. These people with their Ivy League degrees, they're not organizers. They're very ambitious people. You say you're a feminist and you are tripping over your gowns, your corsets, right? Your crinolines to get to be the VP on a man who we have not resolved the question about his sexual assault, history of being accused of sexual assault. I got a problem with it. And when you're asked whether or not this man should be held to accountability for this myriad accusations, you brush it off the table. You just ruined your credentials as a feminist. So people are talking, but are people really listening? Because when people tell you who they are, sister said, mother said, believe them the first time. So I don't think that people are really listening. I think that we're starstruck and celebrity guided. And I don't think that the thinkers, and I'm not talking about the people with the long, beautiful resumes, I don't think that they're out in force. I don't think that people are taking this seriously. I don't think people know how far we've gone. We're really far gone. We're talking about this candidacy and this VP pick as if this is sane and normal. The DNC effectively chose our candidate for us and served it to us on a platter, blood and all. And so when people start talking about, well, what do you think about this person? What do you think about this person? And I ask them, what do you think about the scene that we're in right now? What do you think about this movie? You're talking about the players, you're talking about the set. What about this script? What about this movie? It's all the way off. And so the people who are being allowed into that inner sanctum, we need to question these people about the things that they're saying and doing. I had questions about Andrew Gillum from the very beginning. When he came out to that church and he was standing outside.
I was there when you pressed him. I brought him over. I brought you over to Andrew Gillum. I was there. Yeah, go ahead. I saw that. Go ahead.
I was sitting at the Progressive Caucus. I was on a panel and he came in, he was late and he came in and you know Susan Smith, right? She worships his guy because that's the horse she rode in on because she's been doing this work for decades. And finally, she chose the golden ticket, boy with the golden ticket, and people know who she is now. Susan Smith is 100 years old. And when she was doing the thing that she's doing with the white progressives, because they have no reach into the Black community, let me tell you, right? And nobody needs a progressive agenda like Black people. In 2007, I was working on the first Netroots caucus. You know, I don't mess with Netroots anymore because when it was real, when it was like before it was cool, that's when it was actually doing things. That's when what's his name? Caucus was really, he had the largest political blog in the world, but I digress. When we're looking at people, these candidates, these upstarts, Gillum comes into this room like he was Obama, like he had an entourage. Now I'm from Duval County. And on the other side of the state is Tallahassee. There's nothing up there. And I'm like, you strutting through here like you're the toast of the town. Who is this guy, right? And they cut us. He gave us a very sterilized fire and brimstone. I too know Black struggle, and I didn't like it. I said, here we go again. The next thing you know, he's like a serious contender for governor in Florida. I don't have a choice. I got to vote for this guy, right? So we're standing outside this church, and there are more people outside the church than there are inside the church. We organized that shit in 7 days. He comes out and he asks me, he sent this woman who, I don't even know if, he sent this woman out, a white woman, a Karen, and she asked, the mayor would like to speak to the crowd. And I said, the mayor never spoke to us. Now he wants to talk to the people that we've organized. I mean, like, what this is. So they thought, and then Ruth, the Dominican, said, I told him no. Did you say yes? I said, no, I told him no. She brought him over there like, okay, I'm 40 something years old. I'm not starstruck. I'm not a YouTube follower. I'm not an Instagram fan, right? I think for myself. So he came over and he was using that very sanctimonious sister. I just wanted to blah, 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 blah. And I didn't know BuzzFeed was like right there recording the whole thing on an iPhone. So I was just going in because, you know, I'm a wild ass nigga. I don't care, right? And we're going to tell the truth and we're going to stop talking. So I told him, I will come and meet with you in the boardroom. I'll meet you in the field, but we need to have a conversation. I don't think it's appropriate for you to come out here and take this bullhorn, right? You haven't earned that. And we chased, me and the executives at BET, because I was in that thing. We chased, from Marquise McLaughlin, we chased Andrew Gillum all over this state, and he refused to speak to us. Now, Stacey Abrams, to her credit, she was in that documentary. He didn't know at the time that it was going to be a who's who of emerging political folks, and he was trying to keep his nose clean. But Stacey was running for government too, and she showed up because Black women are like that. So the short of the whole thing is, Senator Byrd said if God had wanted us to vote, he would have given us candidates. And so the first thing we have to talk about is the vetting of these candidates, and not just putting people in positions because they're Black. Because if that were the case, there's any host of Black people standing around that will fill those shoes for you and do absolutely nothing if we've learned nothing from our President Obama. So, I mean, I'm not going to ride on that train. I'm not going to do that, right? I come from real people. We do real shit, and I'm not going to ride that bus. I'm not riding that bus. So you guys can talk about amongst yourselves and sort out who is a good candidate and who isn't a good candidate. But I just don't think that most people who are qualified to run for office, and no offense to you, Dwight, because I've already listed what I'm impressed about your credentials. Most people qualify for run for office never do. I babysat enough of these people to know.
Okay, wait, just for a second.
I definitely had a follow-up.
1 minute of silence to resonate on that
let it marinate.
Obliteration of knowledge that Donna just dropped. Just let it like marinate. That's the barbecue chicken. That's the barbecue sauce right there. Sister, wow.
Let me tell you something. I don't have anything to say.
Go ahead, Ericka.
I have nothing to say. I am such a Donna Davis fan. I don't know you. I've never met you, but I swear to you, I'm for real. Like, yo, I need to talk to you after this. You're the truth. And I don't have nothing to say. I'm not really into the female vice president thing, and not because I'm not a feminist. I think it's just another Sarah Palin ploy. It's not really gonna get us anywhere. Okay. And if we pick a Black woman to be the vice president, again, to Donna's point, what's the vetting process, and is that person really viable? And are they just going to be a Sarah Palin mouthpiece, which is, I think, what's going to happen? So,
well, let me ask you this. Is it more important, right? For and Donna basically summarized, the importance as far as having a Black woman as a VP because of Biden being the oldest candidate that we ever had. Is it more important to have a Black woman as the VP or potentially another Supreme Court justice?
So I'll jump in.
Go ahead, Dwight.
So, there's already been the admittance of I'm going to support the appointment of a Black woman to the Supreme Court. That's a whole nother conversation within itself as to who it is, because what scares me is the potential of the sister in the Ahmaud Arbery case, right? Who is an appointed Republican?
Yeah.
Who may get out here and win a case, and we all have a feel-good moment, might ride a wave that ends up getting her the nomination for a Supreme Court position. And then we got a Black female for Clarence Thomas. That's a whole nother thing, right?
And I don't think, I'm gonna just be on wax and say it out there. I don't think it's Kamala Harris either.
Right.
It's not. I don't think she's the one either.
So it doesn't need to be a prosecutor, hands down, anyway, right? So bottom line. But on the female VP piece, from a pure strategy standpoint, and not to be contrary, because everything Donna said was absolutely 100% spot on.
Yep.
But from a strategy standpoint, thinking about why we're here at this moment, based on this interview, right, is the insertion and injection of Black women into the narrative now I think becomes amplified even more. Because you're absolutely right, Donna. The Klobuchar thing, I think, was definitely a backroom deal. The fact her name's been floated, Klobuchar's name's been floated through circles around being president of the United States, going all the way back to 2014, right? At the 2016 convention, they were saying that she should have been the one, should have run instead of Hillary, because she had more, experience and could coalesce people, and also all that narrative had already been created years ago, and we understand that. But I think to the point around strategy, around where you are in this moment, now coming off of a very problematic and hostile interview as of today, means that the conversation around should it be a Black woman should be amplified. And I think that there should be a multitude of voices, throwing out a multitude of names that aren't necessarily problematic. Now, no love lost in the sense that of the names that have been floated out there, I like a Stacey Abrams because she comes, to her credit, from an organizing background, right? Going to her days at Spelman, right? And what she's able to bring to the table around access to voting rights, aptitude around politics at all levels of government, I think makes her a very interesting and compelling choice as a VP nominee. But you're absolutely right. You're gonna have to carry a lot of dirty water in order to get to a particular point where you get on that stage in August in Milwaukee.
What about Mayor Bottoms?
In order to then run out there, I don't like. I mean,
you don't like it? Bottoms needs to be Mayor Bottoms.
Nah, and the reason I say Mayor Bottoms, it goes back to her opposition of Stacey Abrams for the governorship of Georgia.
So there's that.
There's a long-standing history there where she actually supported the white candidate.
That's right.
In the Georgia election, the people don't,
I didn't know that.
That's a whole story to be told, right?
TJ and Dwight, can we talk about Congresswoman Val Demings, who is also on the short list, and the legacy of draconian policing, not just her and her husband.
Right. Well, listen, before you say that, I have reached out, before you say that, Congresswoman Val Demings is my congresswoman. I did reach out to her people to get her on the Soapboxx, so she will have an opportunity. And I did interview Mayor Jerry Demings, so I did give her an opportunity to come on the show. So anything that's being said, if you got a problem with what's being said, because they're authentic and they're real, you can come on here and you can have the same platform to do so and spit what you got. Your husband did it, and we interviewed him, Senator Dwight Bullard, everybody here. So this is an open platform, and you have an invitation. I emailed Ern. So this is a record. I emailed him. So before all this media stuff, and you're doing the root and everything, this is someone who has independent Black media outlet that credible people, as far as D.L. Hughley from comedian Godfrey, comedian Tony Rock, Rich Singh, people have been on it. So don't duck me. So make sure that you come on this platform and say your piece, and you're actually running for re-election. So I would appreciate that you come on to talk to a constituent and someone who has influence in your district for your constituents directly. So with that being said, fire away, because this is an open platform. Go ahead and say what you got to say. I just wanted to put that out there.
I'm just saying, TJ, I mean, I met you when I was working for a candidate running for state senate. We're not going to say his name right now. That's when I met you. That's when we started building. You actually educated me on Val Demings, because at first I was like, yo, Black woman running for Congress. And you were like, yo, I need to talk to you about Orlando Police Department. I need to talk to you about Orange County Department. You know what I'm saying? And I mean,
there goes that invitation. She's like, all right.
It was a rough year. Bernie lost, Hillary lost, but we got Aramis Ayala. That was like the only thing that we really had. You educated me on homeless people getting their necks broken, massive amounts of money paid out to Black folk because of this police department. But she's on the short list, TJ. And I need to say something about that because to Sister Donna's point and Sister Ericka's point and Sister Dwight, we're not just going to put a Black face. You know, we got to vet these people, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, whether it's Sister Stacy or Kamala or Val Demings. Those are apparently Black people who made it to the Final Jeopardy. You know, let me get Russell's point of view, because Russell, I know you know the mayor personally, and I know he's good friends with Val. You know their family, and see my position as it stands now, until I have a conversation with Congresswoman Demings, is that if she decides to be the nominee, or she gets selected as the nominee, or picked, or whatever verbiage you want to use, it will open the door for me as an activist and organizer here locally. It will open the door to either her record or what's going on within the Orlando Police Department that I've been dealing with here on a national scale, because now people are going to want to find out what's been going on. You see what I'm saying? So to me, I'm like, okay, if you do this, you're going to open yourself up to some of this criticism that you may not want, that may affect you in your district if Biden doesn't get elected. So, but go ahead. I want to get your thoughts.
So,
Russell about to get a text. He's about to get a text right now.
I have continued love and respect for Mayor Demings and Congresswoman Demings. You know, those are my church members. Both of them represent me as a congresswoman, as Mayor Demings when he was the sheriff represented. So I'm gonna be transparent and say, you know, when Congresswoman Demings was the police chief, I really wasn't paying attention to everything that gone on. You know, I've seen more stuff that happened after that. And I do know when you talk about these folks who've been the sheriff and the police chief, they actually got two responsibilities. Their first one is definitely to the community and making sure people are safe. And I am aware, TJ, I think you made me aware about the homeless getting abused by the police. And that's been happening for, I think, over 20 years, which is horrible. They also got a commitment to those in the department to make sure that there are fair hires and promotions and people are moving up the ladder and things of that sort. So, I talk with officers about that too. I've stood with you when you pointed out things like Officer Robert Shellhorn, who gets paid the most, however, has a record of abusing Blacks as well as persons who are in the LGBT community. You had a whole city commissioner talking about it. But all that being said, let's bring it back to VP Biden. VP Biden, I think, has been stringing us along the whole time somewhat, about these Black women. The video to talk with the Black women, encouraging him to pick the Black woman, it's long overdue for a Black woman not to just be VP, but be in more positions of executive leadership, not in the vice role, but in the chair roles. Right now, Congresswoman Demings has a lot of juice nationally. There have been people around the nation talking about her, and they like her. They like her, and she's likable. I think she's competent and able to do the job. I think she's competent. Somebody, I think I saw somebody put up a post that said, we're so happy with these mediocre white men and white women. Whenever a Black woman or a Black man gets nominated, sometimes we scrutinize them in an extra hard sense. And I'm saying to say this, Amy Klobuchar might be the VP candidate, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I would take Val Demings over her. I would take Kamala Harris over her even, and I'm like, if we're continually satisfied with mediocre white folks, I'm not, it's like, I'm going to push for the Black person. I really am for everybody Black. I don't look at, I don't think Val Demings is bad like that in any sense. I don't think, I think Kamala Harris got some work to do and got some ownership to do, some policies she put in place as well. Yeah. But it's like overall, and I got mad love for Stacey Abrams too. Stacey Abrams, the reason she don't want to go for Senate is because she wants to be an executive and not a legislative role. I agree that she could be a powerful senator, but She wants to move up that executive ladder. That's why she was running for governor, and she wasn't running for nothing else. And she wants to be the president one day. You know, maybe the most competent across the board. But it's like in the grand scheme, I'm gonna tell you, Biden really messed up in guaranteeing that he was going to pick a woman as VP. If you ask me, overall, there are women that are competent and stuff, but when you guarantee something like that, you're already caping. You know, you're caping off top. It's like he guaranteed it, and he didn't have to guarantee it. It's like you pick a woman, incompetent woman, but you don't have to guarantee it. And when you do that, you're already caping. And now you got people purposely floating these names around. And, if Klobuchar is the one that you wanted to pick, 6 months ago, let's just be honest and not string it along. And, but needless to say, none of them up front, including our own Congressional Black Caucus, have put up a Black agenda. I think Ericka just touched on 20 minutes ago. P. Diddy said, Biden, you need to get to a Black agenda, but we don't want white people to set a Black agenda. We want Black people to set a Black agenda.
Yeah.
And,
well, I think, go ahead.
I mean, I'm saying this, if Diddy has the money and resources and influence, but we've yet to even have our own Congressional Black Caucus put together a solid Black agenda and say, here, this is what Black America needs, Joe Biden. Here's what they need, Hillary Clinton. Here's what they need, whoever lost in 2004.
Isn't that what they're supposed to be doing?
John Kerry, Brother Russell, John Kerry.
Yeah, listen. And I want to get to that. And definitely, I look forward to potentially having an interview with Congresswoman Val Demings. But both Ericka and Dwight just sent me something. I'm trying to see if I can post it on in the street or share it. But Donna and Anthony and Russell,
come on.
Yo, the Trump campaign is passing out or basically
selling.
They're selling
$30 a piece.
Selling $30, and people are gonna buy it because they got a black model in it, and people are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting that," and they might be getting it with the reverse psychology attached to it.
What is it, Ericka? What is it?
Trump.
Oh, I'm about to put it on my email so I can show y'all in the Zoom. But it's a T-shirt that says "You Aint Black," and it says Joe Biden. It's like a quote T-shirt, and it says Joe Biden.
Hold on, do that so quick.
Add me next time, that one.
Listen, let me go ahead and put it on my thing. You guys go ahead and talk real quick about.
It's within the same day. That's what I'm talking about. Everything that is said, especially now, is used against you in the court of public opinion immediately. Yeah. Within the same day.
Listen, it's Memorial Day weekend. You're gonna see the commercial on BET this weekend.
I don't know about y'all. I'm moving to Madagascar, and I'll see y'all later.
Hold on, you're gonna see the commercial on BET this weekend, cut, spliced, and polished of Joe Biden. All the quotations. Just get ready.
But you know what it is? But you know what it is? They can't call foul because Kamala Harris, when she said the thing about Joe Biden in the bus, she came out with T-shirts immediately. So we can't say that they're using sensation. Listen, man, politics is a blood sport. It's a contact sport. It's a blood sport. Like, Republicans say what you want, but they're trying to win this. They're not. This is not like a game to them. Like we talk about Obama, like Trump is their Obama, and they're gonna fight. And he knows he don't want to deal with any of this legal stuff that's going on outside of his office. I'm trying to pull up the hold on one second.
But the point around that, the fact that these shirts are up on the website already and being mass produced, like you knew it was coming. The crazy part about it is you're gonna see them in the hood too.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? You're gonna see them on the block. People like brothers on the corner selling them too for cheaper, $10, $15.
All right, hold on. I got it.
Let's go.
Let me go ahead and share the screen. That's what it looked like. Y'all see it?
Why's her face so stank? Her face is stank.
Oh, they got the right model.
Who is this? Who's this model?
Oh no,
they got the right one.
She's just a t-shirt model, and she doesn't
t-shirt
even know
model. That's
she's
a
being
plain
played.
white t-shirt, and they just threw it.
She don't even know she's being played.
She's a stock photo. Let's be clear.
Oh, is it a stock? Is it a stock photo?
Yes.
It's definitely a stock photo.
Oh, this is this. Yo, she's done. Like
well,
she gotta.
We don't know that for sure. We don't know that for sure, but I'm giving 75-80% is a stock photo, but it might be a Candace Owens.
Let's be clear. Candace Owens volunteered for that. Let's be.
Yes.
Owens like I'll see the picture. They were like, we already got it up. Don't worry about it. We
listen.
Put it on the website.
How long before that's horrible. But listen, I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. I understand it's Friday. I've enjoyed this conversation. So
one thing.
Go ahead.
Never discussed. We never talked. I wanted to make one comment about why Amy Klobuchar, because that's important, right?
Okay, let's do that. Yeah. Okay.
You can edit that in. Amy Klobuchar.
No, we're still live.
Okay, she will bring the Midwest 3, right? And to Dwight's point, she's been being touted for a long time. And the reason for that was the Midwest was always, a little wishy-washy. And so the Midwest 3 is critical here. Also, as I traveled around the country, shockingly in Philly, Republican women, when they saw the Amy Klobuchar stickers, wanted to sign the petition to get her on the ballot. The reason for that was they see her as one of them. And by the numbers, this is known that Amy Klobuchar will bring Republican women and moderate left of center Dems, the right of center Dem women who want to see a woman in the White House. So white women on both sides of the aisle will punch that ticket for Biden because he's not coming for Wall Street, right? And he's pop, right? I want to say corn pop, but he's gonna be nice. Yeah. And because Biden, they will vote for a Biden Klobuchar ticket. And what they're hoping to do is shave off some of these voters that have Trump fatigue. So there's the Republican women, there's the Midwest 3, and then fatigued Trump voters in general is what they're looking for. And Amy, and people keep saying Stacey Abrams, and whenever I say, here are the reasons why we're looking at a Klobuchar Biden ticket, and it has to do with the numbers. As a field operative, I'm gonna always go back to the canon. It's really about the numbers. I remember when I was a young warthog, the senior consultant in my firm said, I said, well, blah, blah, blah. And he said, do we do what our client tells us to do, Donna? And I said, here's a trick question. No. He said, who tells us what to do? Our numbers tell us what to do. And so for all of the people who don't think organizing is hot, if you don't have the numbers, no one's going to listen to you. So for all of the histrionics, if you haven't organized and brought people out to the polls, that was the power that you had to broker, and you threw it away. And so now they're going to pick who's going to bring them the voters who didn't give it up so easily. And that's how we're going to get them.
I appreciate you breaking that down, because I would never have thought about that. Because the minute she was announced or saying that she was being vetted, I was like, I don't really, and I told people I didn't know too much about her, to be honest with you. And I don't think a lot of Black folks know much about her. She was on there. She was best known on stage as being the one that's like Joy Behar of The View. Like, she'll say the little quips, like she'll get a little sound bites on the debate stage. And she went at her and Pete Buttigieg kept going at each other. That's the most I've known about Amy. But I caution this strategy, because are we really banking on white women to do the right thing again in 2020 at the polls? Have they not shown us again that despite the feminism, despite the Me Too movement, despite everything that's going on, that white women will still be pillars of the white supremacy power structure in order to make sure that they don't lose their position in the game?
But this is the thing. White people stick together.
I'm sorry, Sister Ericka, real quick. As Dave Chappelle said, the white women, you were a part of the heist. You just didn't like your cut.
Correct.
If Amy Klobuchar is the vice presidential nominee, Joe Biden will lose. I would not call Sister Donna. I would not call Sister Ericka and tell them like, you got to do this. If Amy Klobuchar, we're not talking about her prosecutorial record. All the Bernie people came out against Kamala. Nobody said shit about Amy's prosecutorial record, and that's how supremacy works. I'm not saying I agree with what Kamala did, but like if we're gonna be honest, let's be honest. None of those white Bernie supporters, the kale eating, Ben and Jerry's eating, sipping, Birkenstock boot wearing, slipper wearing fuckers said shit about Amy Klobuchar. As soon as Kamala like started making the threats of Bernie, you know what I'm saying? All the Fish fans, who's a rock man from Vermont, came out after Kamala Harris didn't say shit about. You know what I'm saying? Like, what about her prosecutorial record? The people of Minnesota are going to tell us the truth. And guess what? We got a black attorney general in Minnesota, the good brother, Muslim, Keith Ellison, who did beat false Me Too allegations. And he's going to tell us the truth. Amy Klobuchar, if she is the nominee, Brother TJ, Sister Donna, Brother Dwight, Brother Russell, Sister Ericka, it's over. It's over. We're not, black folk ain't going to come out to vote for Amy Klobuchar.
Nakima Levy-Pound, who was in Black Lives Matter in Minnesota and was the president of the NAACP when they occupied Precinct 4. That night, they were doing a rally at a school. I was in South Carolina for the caucuses, and they showed up, and they had with mostly white people, and they did the whole Black Lives Matter thing, and they were speaking on behalf of their fallen comrade. And I told Aaron Mendelson, one of the New York City pundits, who was our authorized representative for New York, that when Amy got to South Carolina, there was going to be a reckoning of her prosecutorial record in Minnesota. And he thought that I was just being like super black and just trying to make it a thing. I told him that's not going to go away. I do believe, just from the information that I got inside the campaign, I do believe that Amy wanted to talk about it, but when Conrad and Connor and Kyle, they've got the muskets out and doing some good colonizing, they would not allow her to talk to Roland Martin. They were not interested in her having these conversations because they didn't want to do the PR let back work that was going to have to be done. But she wanted to come clean. She wanted to discuss it. She wanted to do a full Hillary and say, hey, my bad. But that was not, from what I understand, that's not what was recommended to her because it meant that they were going to have to do real work.
Well, how does, Dwight, let me ask you, how do you sell Amy Klobuchar to our communities and get that 93%? How do we do it?
You don't. And that's the other part of the numbers. The numbers game is like, the Democratic Party is so dependent on Black and brown voters at this point that they have to try and find this critical balance. And so you saw it play out in 2016. There was a strong push, well, not as strong as it could have been, for Cory Booker, who was being vetted to be the VP nominee instead of Tim Kaine back in 2016, right? All the folks who were trying to play the inside baseball who couldn't penetrate the Podestas and Mooks of the world who were running the show to say, hey, listen, here's the reality is that you need a dose of color post-Obama if this thing's going to work. Didn't get that breakthrough. And so this is the short-term versus the long-term conversation that the Democratic Party has to have with itself, is that it cannot function under a business as usual model anymore. And it also can no longer be okay with this window dressing thing that they do where they're like, okay, well, we can randomly put somebody because of they're a swing state person or they're this kind of person. And so unfortunately, what the Biden campaign is doing with the number of folks, and I saw the article today around who they're vetting, some of the other folks, the telltale sign that they wanted to go with Klobuchar was the fact that they also asked Jean Shaheen from New Hampshire if she wanted to be a part of it. That means they were already plotting on a white centrist female candidate to do it. and hoping that they can then go out and say, well, we're gonna placate Black folks by getting out here and talking about the Supreme Court nominee being a Black woman, and expressly advocate that as the selling point. The problem, again, going back to this interview today, is that you've again stirred the pot. Black folks, brown folks are not these novice monolithic voters that you make the assumption. And this is part of the white supremacy of the Democratic Party, is you're making the assumption that because you can run around and say, we were the party of Obama, or we were the party of Jesse Jackson, or we could do all these other things, or we elected this person, that's going to be enough. And it's not going to be enough, because you're not going to be able to move the numbers. 40 million people, 40 million people who are eligible and did not register, or eligible to vote and did not vote, chose to stay home, that are Black and brown. Black, brown, and young white women. Just did not participate. And if you are now trying to fight for a shrinking group in which Trump has his locked in and baked, and you can expand your electorate as the Democratic Party, you're going to lose every election. And that's really the critical long-term conversation that the Democratic Party doesn't want to have. They want to think that they can fight this 50, 51%, 49% battle with just white folks, and that Black and brown people are just going to come along. And we've seen it. We've now seen it happen. We saw it happen in 2012 with the drop-off. We've seen it happen in 2016. We saw it happen in midterms in 14 and 10, where Black and brown folks are just like, no, we need something substantive. Give us something more.
Real quick, Sister Donna, real quick to what Brother Dwight is saying, right? Party of FDR. That has nothing to do with Black folk. You said, Brother TJ, that's what I do: climate justice, environmental justice. The Green New Deal. Fuck the Green New Deal. New Deal had nothing to do with us. The greatest accomplishments of the Democratic Party in the last 100 years, New Deal, which excoriated Black folk and brown folk from being able to create generational wealth, redlining, historical poverty and white supremacy. FDR capitulated with white supremacists to get New Deal passed. The other Democratic thing was the crime bill. That was their big accomplishment. Very massively excoriable to Black folk. Welfare reform, crushed Black women and their families, as Brother Dwight was just saying. And now you want us to celebrate Green New Deal. Green New Deal? Why would you? I mean, New Deal had nothing to do with us, right? Plymouth Rock didn't land. We didn't land on Plymouth.
First of all, it literally excluded us. It literally excluded us.
Yeah. It should have been called Reconstruction if you wanted to get Black folk behind it. So Brother Dwight is absolutely right. Is that the mythological white working class voter is dead. It means nothing. Stephen Phillips, brown is the new white. As Brother Dwight has been pointing out, as Sister Donna has been pointing out, the numbers don't lie. White people lie. White consultants lie. White Democrats lie, but the numbers do not. Okay.
Can I go Alvin Toffler on you for a moment?
Yes, Sister Donna. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I should say, what's her name? Olivia, our futurist, right?
The Pope?
No. What's the other? the Pope. The parable of the sower. Okay, so if I could just put this in context, it's 2007. I am organizing Denver for Hillary Clinton, and McCain is looking like he's going to win. Sarah Palin in her red shoes at the debate, giving us, channeling Gretchen Wilson, redneck woman. And people are like, what the hell is this? Is this a joke? Is this a game? And McCain is strong against Obama. I don't think Obama can win, which is why I'm on the Hillary Clinton campaign, because I grew up in the South and I never have faith that things are going to go our way. And the housing bubble, the housing market, right? Nationwide, the housing market crashes. People say we got to get the Republicans the hell out of office. The market goes bearish, right? It had been bullish for a long time. The market goes bearish. People are holding their guns, and Obama slides through. Now, rolled forward to fall 2020. COVID-19 is afoot, right? Trump has screwed up royally. More people are going to die. If we learned anything from 1918 Spanish flu, is that the second wave is sharper and it's a hairpin turn. And we're not prepared for it because we're still playing political games. COVID is still a political option in the United States, even as parts of the world. So we're going to go into the second wave without being prepared. And a lot of people who are ready to punch that Chad for Donald Trump are going to be impacted by his foolishness. Now, one of the things I know about human beings is they will not change their mind as they receive new information unless that new information is aiming straight for their head. Mm-hmm. When their pawpaw and their mima die in those nursing homes because there wasn't PPE, when 40 people die in that nursing home, when this thing comes to Marion and Lee and Polk counties and Lake County, a lot of those people who are on the fence are going to change their mind. And Joe Biden and Amy Klobuchar are going to look really good to them. So we know for a fact that in the context of current events and the way that they bear on the electorate can change outcomes overnight. I've been in situations where I was trying to stop Ward Connerly from imposing ending affirmative action in Colorado. And Quinnipiac said we were down 33 to 66. We had no chance in hell of getting that thing through. And we put flyers on every car at every synagogue, basilica, Koji church in the city of Denver and wrote an editorial. I told them the Post wants to talk to us. So the Post said, who wants to talk to you? Oh, NARAL, Planned Parenthood, and all these groups. Nobody asked nobody nothing. We all went down there, forced them to write an editorial, and we sent Ward Connerly back to California to work on mandatory minimums. I am a big fan as a field organizer of causing trouble at the last minute. Sometimes we can manufacture it. Other times the candidate does it for themselves. I honestly believe that Donald Trump is not going to survive the second wave of COVID-19. And that is how Joe Biden will win in November. Because on his own, I don't think it's possible.
And I know we got to wrap, but that's the point I wanted to drive home was short-term wins versus long-term losses. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying is we could run a 50-50 shot. A Klobuchar Biden ticket beats a Trump Pence ticket part two. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that Black folks and brown folks are going to it's going to be an implosion of the Democratic Party, and not in a good way. Yeah. If they don't rectify it at this moment, because yes, the Democrats could win and lose from here on out because of the fallout of bad decision making of that. And so to that point is why I'm saying they have to do something. Mm-hmm. They have to be implicit about how they address this in a very real way. Mm-hmm. But I can't imagine, as a person in Florida organizing, trying to move people to the ballot, I don't foresee of a conceivable way that you move lower propensity voters who are primarily already disengaged, who showed up for a Gillum, who showed up for Obama in 12, didn't show up for Hillary in 16, to get behind a Biden Klobuchar ticket. Now, they may move in Hamilton County, they may move in Gilchrist or Dixie County, and that's great. If we can make up that difference there on a short-term basis, but Black and brown folks are going to check out completely watching the August through November to January inauguration happen with a Biden Klobuchar thing. And now you got to spend 4 years trying to get them back with the Democratic establishment already now saying that here's who we want to lead us in the future, Amy Klobuchar as your president of the United States for the future. Right. Like that's a hard sell. 2028, 2032. Yeah. I don't get it done.
I mean, just like Brother Dwight said, that would be like naming David Duke to lead a civil rights commission named after Barry Goldwater?
Listen. I appreciate everybody being here. There's a segment we have on the Soapbox. Ericka knows, Dwight knows, Russell knows. We call it the moral of the story. It's basically our way of summarizing the conversation to the people as we wrap. So I'm going to go around, give everybody an opportunity to give their moral of the story based on what we talked about. And I also want you, please, because Donna, people have been hitting me up in my inbox about contacting you, because people were like, TJ, you got her information. I want to talk to her. So I don't give out phone numbers. So
don't give out her phone number, TJ.
Yes, I did that one time with Ericka.
Her PR specialist, Ericka.
Yes.
Do not give out her phone number.
That's right.
Give me her phone number, but give everybody else her email.
See, I learned my lesson. So at this time, I want everybody to, when you're summarizing what we discussed, please give out your social media and take the opportunity, if there's something that we need to pay attention to in your space. Like you said, the Avengers, we all come together, but we all fight our individual battles out there in our own fields as Black superheroes that we are. Please let us know. So I'm going to start. So Ericka is a veteran to this. I'm going to start with you, Ericka. What's your moral of the story?
Moral of the story is, let's be smart about what our Black agenda is, and let's create one, number one, and then let's really push it forward. If that can't be heard, and if there is in fact a Biden Klobuchar ticket, then we just got to go old school and pray. I think that's really all we got. Because I mean, literally, like when Dwight said it, it really like hit home for me. You know, this person could be the president in 8 years. That's disconcerting. Nonetheless, my handle at Ericka Dunlap. Ericka's with a CK. Yeah, don't get my phone number from TJ. And if he gives you a phone number, I'm going to block you.
No, I will not give you. I will not get you. Slide in the DMs at your own apparel. I do not give out any more phone numbers.
I love y'all madly. I gotta go because I have a visitor, and it's been fun. But I look forward to the next discussion. Thanks for giving me some time.
Good to meet you.
Blessings, Ericka. Go ahead, Anthony. What's your moral of the story, man?
Moral of the story: Black woman vote. If you don't get it, you won't. If you don't got it, you won't get it. Period. In terms of shameless self promotions, book coming out on Beacon Press. Section all missed opportunities and new possibilities for the climate community. It's not a climate movement yet. Until Black people are really centered, it will not be a movement. It will not be a climate movement. And more of the story is just bless. Thank you, TJ, for bringing me onto this. My sister Donna is a teacher of mine. My brother Dwight Bullard, like, you know, really in 2016, like was just like taught me like you got to get involved with this shit, and it's really good to meet my brother Russell. So that's more story. No social media. Book will be coming out soon. I'll be sending advanced copies to all of you. All CJA members, right, gonna get a free copy. So don't worry about it. And I love all of you. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. No problem. Russell Drake, moral of the story.
Moral of the story is I've changed backgrounds about 17 times during this call.
I was worried about you, brother. You was outside, brother. You're outside, so I kept looking behind Russell to make sure ain't nobody try to sneak my brother out here on his phone. But I got you. Go ahead.
I want it. It's on camera. But I think the moral of the story is be weary of hearing things that sound familiar. What we heard VP Biden say was very synonymous with a lot of white supremacy that we've heard, a lot of white privilege that we've heard in the past. And it makes me weary. That was really the scariest thing that I've seen from him, I think, ever. And be weary of it and hold these folks accountable. You know, we know better and we can do better. And it's like, we can't go through the same circle and pendulum swinging back and forth. And he's got to be held accountable. His staff has got to be held accountable. I mean, he's got to wake the hell up or we're going to get left behind. You know, right now he's sitting in the driver's seat, but he can easily, you know, be on the sideline, and we can too. So we got to hold these folks accountable, the people we know in the camp. You know, Donna and Dwight, y'all know a lot more people than us, and we got to push the buttons on them. And, you know, at the end of the day, we need not just Black votes to matter, but our Black agenda should matter, and our Black dollars matter. So, you know, they need to everybody needs to come up with an economic plan for our Black community, period. It's no, if I think about it, I should, but period. That's what time it is. As we're 1/5 of the way through the century, hey, we got to economically push our brothers and sisters forward. That's what I'm dedicated to right now. One love to all y'all and everything you do. You can give anybody my cell number. They could call. They may not like the conversation they get, but we gonna get one.
Nah, just give out your social media. I don't do numbers.
Social media is easy. It's just at Russell Drake, RUSSELLDRAKE. Right now, I'm doing this movement where I'm supporting a Black business every day. Today is my 111th consecutive day of supporting a Black business, and I'm posting on my social media channels. I actually featured the Soapboxx as my 50th business that I featured. And right now I'm working to go to 200 consecutive days of it. That's my goal right now, and we'll see if I can go after that. And if you got any recommendations on Black-owned businesses, I'm not doing barbershops and beauty salons because I think we good on them for the moment. But I'm trying to help push other brothers and sisters forward. So if you got any recommendations in the Central Florida area or around the state of Florida, let me know. One love.
Word. Donna, your moral of the story.
Don't discount wild cards. We know that in times of economic prosperity, people focus on social issues. In times of economic challenge, people focus on the economy. And so if you've ever heard the term, it's the economy, stupid, you know that people will vote their purses when they won't leave home to vote anything else. And so I expect that this November will be a test of that. And I think that this second wave of COVID is going to enliven a lot of people who were on their civic duties death's door. Will come back to life because they're going to experience impact like they've never seen. And if what happened in New York is any indication of what some of these urban centers around this country, it's going to happen in places like Houston and New Orleans and LA and the South Side of Chicago. When you see places like that, people are going to have political conversations about Trump's handling of this that they've never had before. And that will be the wild card that the housing crisis was in 2007. So as they always say, watch the crown. What's happening in the White House is going to have a lot of determination on what our voter turnout looks like in places that don't normally see really solid voter turnout. And it would not do well for us to underestimate people getting their walking shoes on when this thing really hits. So that's the moral of the story for me.
Oh, and please, before there's a revolt, what is your social media? How do they contact you, Donna?
I am Political Jedi 4 on Twitter.
Okay, I like that handle. Political Jedi 4.
Is it the number? You know what I'm saying?
The number 4? The number 4? Donna, is it the number 4?
Yes.
Okay, the number 4.
The number 4.
Yes. From one Jedi master to another, Senator Dwight Bullard.
Yes, one time for rebellion. No
yes.
doubt.
What is your moral of the story, sir?
I want to thank you first, TJ. This has been mad therapeutic, man. You know, I've been carrying a lot of tension. And, you know, a lot of folks been calling me about this, so I'm glad we had a chance to have this conversation. My moral of the story is that a Black agenda can only come from Black people. But I want to preface that by saying that Professor of mine at FAMU, shout out to Dr. David Jackson, used to always say—
my advisor.
Exactly. An old adage is that if you want to hide something from Black people, you put it in a book. And the reason I bring this up is because the agenda we're looking for has been duplicated so many times. And I want to just leave folks with a couple things. David Walker's appeal to the colored citizens of the world, the 10-point plan by the Black Panther Party, Message to the People by Marcus Garvey. Up from Slavery by Booker T. Washington. Souls of Black Folk by W.E. Du Bois. Autobiography of Malcolm X by El Hajj El Malik Shabazz. May he rest in peace. Happy birthday. Have all been nothing but literal blueprints for the community to follow, guidelines, written word that we should have always been utilizing as a means to empower ourselves with what we believe to be a Black agenda. The inherent problem that we are oftentimes faced with is we come to these moments and do not lean on the ancestors who've already provided a literal roadblock and roadmap for us to already seek our salvation and our liberation that they've already written. And and we can go on and on, whether it's Franz Fanon, whether it's John Henrik Clarke, all these different great minds, in the creative space, the Alice Walkers and the Maya Angelou's have all contributed to what is a Black agenda. And so what I'm trying to say for us is that we don't got to do it. You don't have to fashion anything new. It's there, it's robust, it's there and speaking to us through their own words for the things that we need to go ahead and do. So let's just go ahead and do it.
Word. And your social media?
Social media, on Instagram it's at Dwight Bullard _. On Twitter, it's at Dwight Bullard. You can find me on Facebook, Dwight Bullard. So keep it very simple.
Word. And my moral of the story is pretty simple. Power concedes nothing without a demand. And what you've seen on this broadcast, and we've been on this for about 2 hours. So the misconception that independent Black media sources that 3 hours, has it been 3 hours? 3 hours, right? Yeah. 3 hours. So the misconception that people don't want to hear knowledge or breakdowns of what's going on in the political space, is false, where they just want to have things spoon-fed. There have been people that have stayed with us this entire time that have been texting like, yo, thank you for the breakdowns. I didn't know that. Food for thought, books that you're getting, reference to books, links, just conversations about, we touched on everything from, a little bit of pop culture to politics to, environmental stuff. So this is why I wanted to create this platform called the Soapboxx. Yes, there's a lot of people that's doing Zoom calls now because of the pandemic, and they're having these panels and stuff like that. But right here is the flavor. I'm an activist at my core. I am an organizer at my core. And so what we lack is an opportunity for people in different regions of the world to hear from the Anthonys, from the Donnas, to the Dwight and Russell Drakes, and even Ericka in her space. And for me, I'm very blessed to be at the center of all of it and have a relationship with all of these great individuals, because iron sharpens iron. And for the people who listen to my podcast regularly and hear me talk or listen to me speak or give speeches in Tallahassee or wherever, or even in Orlando, where I cut my teeth in organizing, it's because of folks like this that were on this show today. They inspire me daily. I watch them on their social media. I listen to what they post. I'm constantly researching and reading. I got my stuff. I'm right here. I'm looking at people, legends from the past. Activism and organizing is an art form. It's a craft. It's something I take so seriously. I'm so passionate about. And when you get around in a room with like-minded people, and for me, I appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to sit tonight and not just talk like as I usually do on my podcast, but learn and listen to the stories and hear other people's experiences. And so now when I'm going to put this all on YouTube in its entirety, because I want people to go back. This was literally a masterclass on organizing, and really for those who are in that political space or that campaign space with Biden, you need to listen to this conversation, because these are microcosms of conversations that are happening all across this country in these organizing and these grassroots spaces, right? So I thank you all for being, for sharpening me tonight and sharing your knowledge with the world. The people who have commented are also appreciative. You guys will see that when we log off. Make sure you follow the Soapboxx Podcast, Soapboxx Podcast with 2X on social media. Subscribe to our new YouTube channel. And we're going to continue to build this platform so that we can allow people the opportunity to have real and authentic commentary so that we can express ourselves from all different regions of the world. And I am so appreciative because this at its core is what the Soapboxx is all about. So blessings to all of you and your households. Please stay safe. You guys are all welcome back anytime. I bug Dwight all the time. Russell, we're in the area. I appreciate what you're doing. Anthony, I got to hear more from you, brother. We got to connect a lot more.
Anytime.
Donna, me and Donna don't always agree on everything, but Donna, I got so much love and respect for you. Donna, wherever you talk, me and her back with the Earl Thomas situation, she was like, he deserved it. He deserved it. Cheat at, But I appreciate you. I love y'all to death. Y'all can always give me a phone call.
But real quick, Donna, when you see Tom Brady, kick him in the balls.
Try to stay away from people like that.
But I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Thank you all for watching the Soapboxx and staying with us. For Donna, for Dwight, for Russell, for Ericka, for Anthony, this is the Soapboxx Podcast. I'm TJ Legacy. Peace. Appreciate y'all. All right, hold on. Let me go ahead and